You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
I didn't even make my coffee this morning.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't see anything with those sunglasses on.
I smoked a little weed, though. That is my coffee. But at some point, I have to get up and make a batch. Make an espresso,
Bro,
actually.
If I smoked weed
machine
before the price report, like, I wouldn't have any conceptualization if it had been like 15 minutes or an hour. Like, there's no way I would get through that.
I may or may not smoke during every Monerotopia show. During every Monerotopia show. Because it's, you know.
Does it wake you up?
It does. Sativa wakes me up. It perks me up. Gets my mind just... The short-term memory gets shot, though, but it's it definitely makes your mind more creative. Which I don't know. It's a little dopamine hit. I don't know what's going on there.
Actually, a little confession that those purple bands that I show you guys, those purple lines, that's like it's as far as I can tell, it's a unique statistical concept. I haven't found it anywhere else, and I came up with it when I was basically mildly drunk and kind of high a few years ago. Something in my brain, I don't know, just like I was like, wait a second. I had this like kind of insight. So I told my bro, I was like, yo, I need to borrow your laptop. So I spent like literally the next 5 hours all night coding this thing.
Cool.
So it was kind of hard because I kept making stupid mistakes. But
so wait, explain it again. What is it showing? What's like the? I mean, I'm sure you'll talk about it again today, but.
Oh, so the concept is like standard deviation is like a really super common concept. Like almost everyone's probably heard of it. And it's a measure. It says, hey, how clustered is the data around the average, right? So if the data is very close to the average, then you're going to have a low standard deviation. And if the data is really far away, you have a high standard deviation. The problem was that these charts are all too exponential for that to be terribly useful in a lot of cases, especially when the markets really get going. And so I was trying to find a non-arbitrary way of extending that concept higher, you know, because you just add the standard deviation. You could do like add it twice or add it 3 times, and people call it the second, third standard deviation, but it's arbitrary. And I hate arbitrary concepts when you're trying to look at like TA. It should be non-arbitrary math that you apply to it. Anyways, so I kind of found a way to extend it by taking a derivative of that, basically by doing the standard deviation 2 times, the same idea. So you take that the moving standard deviation, and then you recalculate the standard deviation of that actual moving standard deviation, and then you add that again. It's like a second derivative almost.
Okay.
I know it's pretty far out in the weeds, and after 3 years, I have not found an easy way to explain that. So just trust me, bro.
No, but trust me, bro. But the end result of what you've achieved now. So you've done a standard deviation of a standard deviation, and what is that allowing you to visualize that you weren't able to before?
You could think of it like an acceleration metric. So when price gets moving, standard deviation responds, but this derivative standard deviation responds even faster. So it's like it kind of gives you an idea of how quickly things are accelerating. And again, it's a non-arbitrary way of applying that same concept, which I feel I feel like that's fairly powerful.
All right.
Yeah. Cool story, bro.
Mats. I
don't smoke enough weed, to be honest. Like, that's the problem.
It is interesting how in like all like the engineering and all the sciences, you know, whether like physics or like electronics or like the way water flows or just like fluids, all basically use the same basic like equations to to study those systems, and they're all based on
Yeah.
like derivatives and integrals of like the same equations.
It is kind of beautiful, actually, when you see the overlap,
Yeah.
the way those things cross into each other.
We got Neelis, very generous tip. Thank you, man. 1234. Always participating on the show. We appreciate your participation, man. Sup, guys? Here's 2 links for the news section. Some cringe FUD coming from Bitcoin Academy. Oh, that guy's so annoying. We got to get that guy on this show. Do you guys know this guy, the Bitcoin Academy dude? We need to get him at Monerotopia on stage. And untraceable absolute gem of a Monero meme. Don't trace me, bro. Made a new one. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk if you can bring those up.
Don't worry, we'll have a comedy section.
Thank you for the generous. A lot of dude. Things are so entertaining though. Did you guys watch Trump meet with Zelensky? Did you guys watch that? That was pretty wild. Was that straight up WWF? Was that all like choreographed? What was going on there? I felt like I was watching the WWF.
But I agree. I feel like the past week or so of news has been exceptionally fake and gay beyond how normally fake and gay. Like, for example, the whole the Trump gold card. He had a map of the Gulf of America in the background that has basically no relevance to this $5 million purchasable gold card. And then he had RFK standing there like a bump on a log doing nothing. And RFK is like the health minister. He has nothing to do with immigration, but he knows that everybody loves RFK. And it's like, what? I can't understand. Like, people that can throw $5 million at a residency can already probably get into America with zero problems and start whatever business they want in America. So it's like, the whole thing was just nonsense PR to me. I'm like, God damn it. And then they quote unquote released the Epstein files. Like, it's so fake and gay, all of it.
Dude, it's such...
But nothing was released.
No.
But
they just handed these binders that had redacted information, nothing new. Yeah. To ironically, it's a lot of those mainstream, like, right influencers. But and then they danced around holding the binders for a while.
Yeah. Mr. 1024 Anderson, I just learned recently that coffee helps flush uric acid buildup, thus helping gout. This is true. I know this because I had gout. Drinking black coffee is good.
That's crazy. I'd never heard that before. So all the meat eaters out there, like myself, probably could use some coffee. It also blocks iron absorption.
It also stimulates your neurons, right? The caffeine. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, guys, get your gratuitous coffee. Gratuitous coffee is still going strong, by the way. We have somebody who's going to be going to the farm where we've been getting the coffee now from the last 2 years. He's going to be going in a week or so, and he'll make a video. Maybe we'll get him to come on live on this show while he's there, and we'll be onboarding the farmers, handing out their tips. So that's finally going to happen. Coffee is better than ever. Actually, I'm going to try to get the coffee, try to supply it to the supermarket in Astoria here in New York. I actually just texted the guy. I wanted to go by there to do some shopping. And then I remembered that we had spoken about the coffee, and he's totally down. So we're gonna try to get gratuitous coffee on the shelves of in a supermarket in Astoria, which would be super cool. And trying to get him to pay me in Monero for the coffee. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about that. Little things like that, guys. This is how we get it going. This is how we get the circular economy going. XMR Bazaar. I haven't even checked in this week. I don't even know if there's
you guys
anything.
have decaf like gratuitous? I don't remember.
No, we don't have decaf.
I like coffee. I just can't do the caffeine.
Oh, you do like it? You like it?
Yeah, I've always liked the taste of coffee.
Okay.
I just can't deal with the amount of caffeine that you get, especially from the gratuitous, which is very strong.
Yeah, we just have one fucking coffee type from straight from the farm. We could look into doing decaf. I don't know if there'd be that much.
There probably wouldn't be that many. Yeah, to be honest with you.
I'm just checking out XMR Bazaar right now. I don't even know if there was anything new and interesting this week. Do want to mention Monerotopia Porkfest. So we're full speed ahead on that. That's going to be happening at the same time as MoneroCon. I think there's been some drama. Maybe I shouldn't even start to talk about it, but yeah, I'll skip over the drama. But Monerotopia at Porkfest is 100% on, and we will be streaming MoneroCon at Porkfest, and hopefully they'll be streaming Monerotopia in Prague. Like I've always said, if you guys have the ability to go over to Prague and it's in the cards for you, definitely make that priority. But if you can't and you're in the U.S., you don't want to miss this. It's gonna be a fantastic event. I just was actually talking to Aaron on the phone about it. We already got some good sponsors on board, so we should be funded to do what we need to do. We grabbed the tent that we needed. And to attend, you don't need to buy a ticket. You just need to make your way to Lancaster, New Hampshire, and buy a ticket for Porkfest itself. I could bring that up. Let me bring up the Porkfest website. Boom, boom. Oh, here we are. Porkfest. So June 16th through 22nd. I mean, that's a week long. You really don't have to show up until like the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. That's when it's really going to be kicking off. Maybe Wednesday too. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's when the actual Monerotopia Porkfest event will be taking place. Porkfest itself goes on for the whole week, but I doubt we'll be doing talks starting we'll consolidate it basically all into the same time that MoneroCon is going on, so that weekend. And yeah, just grab your tickets. I don't even know how much is a. So yeah, if you guys can see, actually here, this is where the tent is going to be to the right, where you see that empty space, where that empty area is. There's going to be a tent that's going to be like the size of this other tent here on the left, this white tent. And then in the back, you can see the barn. That's like where that's like the main stage for Porkfest itself. So we're right next to the main stage of Porkfest itself. And then Porkfest is vast. It goes way beyond this area. This is just like the main gathering area, but then it's like many acres of campsite that people are staying in, and there's the Agora where you have all the vendors and the basically the crypto marketplace. So super cool, and it's going to be better than ever because we're going to have this privacy tech tent. Do they have? Oh, wow, they already have speakers to be announced. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, tons of people come and they talk on the main stage. Plus, there's like a lot of people doing what we're doing, like their own little mini kind of like conferences within Porkfest. So super cool, super cool. Really nothing else to say about that.
We should be there. Just can't this year.
Yeah, you're definitely going to Prague, right?
Yep, I'll be there for a little while actually, because I'll be there also for part of the overlapping BTC Prague.
Okay. Yeah, because Vic said maybe there's some cake people that are like staying behind that wouldn't be going to Prague. So
yeah, potentially. There may be someone that could come up. We'll have to see.
Yeah, try to get somebody, and we'll get them on stage. I know you were saying you were trying to maybe come in the beginning, but it wouldn't be worth it for you. I think it'd be too hectic, right?
Yeah, it'd be too.
You'd only
close.
be there what day? Wednesday?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I couldn't make it happen really.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
If it was like, oh, I could be there for a few days, that'd be great because then I have plenty of time to onboard people. Because that's the main reason I would come is so I could onboard people to Cake who are interested in in Monero at the Monero tent. But if I'm there for like half a day, it's kind of like it's a little ridiculous. So
yeah, so we have Cake sponsoring it so far. We have Xano sponsoring it. And then we have Confidential Layer sponsoring it, which is Aaron was able to round these guys up. We'll probably try to get one more sponsor. And then, yeah, it's going to be like Monerotopia, right? So we'll have different privacy tech talks. We'll have, obviously, Liberty talks. There's a lot of talent that will just be at PorcFest itself that will already be there. And I'm sure we'll get them up on stage as well. So should be cool. And we'll be spreading Monero. I mean, this is going to be the most... This is going to be the largest Monero spreading event in a while, right? Because we're going to be surrounded by thousands of PorcFest attendees. A lot of them already know Monero, but there's probably a couple of thousand more who don't know it yet. So I think we'll be very effective at getting the word out about Monero to everybody, and we'll be getting all the vendors. They already use Monero there, but we'll be driving that home. We'll have the local Monero nodes going, the nodos. So to make everybody's like use of Monero more seamless, we'll get the star links going. So we'll be able to kind of offer a better experience for people that are looking to use Monero there. So it should be very cool. If you want to help out, reach out Monerotopia. Wait, what is the Monerotopia at protonmail.com? Yeah, hit us up there if you want to volunteer, if you want to be a speaker. If you want to collaborate in any way, hit us up, Monerotopia@protonmail.com. Definitely looking for some volunteers to help us. I think I have somebody who'll be running the AV, but maybe you have AV equipment. You want to come bring it? We could pay you, give you some Monero. Reach out. And yeah, that's all I got on that. Shall we jump into price? Get it moving?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a pretty massive week for that, so I'm sure Bawdy has a lot to show.
Let's do it.
No, I don't. We'll see. I guess we'll find out.
There's a lot we could talk about, but I'll go ahead and run the segment.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
All right. Everybody's favorite time of day on Saturday when we get to look at tea leaves. We get to speculate about astrology. We get to draw dubious lines on charts and pretend like we know what we're talking about.
I'm gonna put you on my speakers here as I make espresso and listen in.
Yeah, man. Make an espresso. Take that bump. Whatever you got to do. Just playing. Stay away from those bumps, bros. I think Johnny Cash wrote a song about that. But yeah, okay. So as everyone probably knows, we've been on the verge of just complete annihilation, despair, breakdown. Not Monero. We're fine. Like, we're basically used to that kind of bullshit. In fact, for Monero, like, you look at this chart and you're like, what? Did something happen? Like, oh yeah, we had a little pullback. Okay, whatever. We're sleeping like a baby. We're having no problems here. And when we compare Monero's relative price to the rest of the market, looks great, looks fantastic. It's kind of like our consolation prize, if you will. When everyone else is crying with their Doge tears, with their weak Cheems tears, we're just sipping on our coffee or whatever beverage you might have this morning. Or maybe not coffee at all for those in the comments that have been poo-pooing such notions. Okay, so yeah, we're sitting here at 218, 220, and the major massive standard deviation cluster sits just slightly above us at about $227. And as we've talked about, we're basically just trying to establish that price can indeed hold this level. And we've talked about the possibility for sort of trying to tag these lower lines down here, these lower bands in the 180, 190 area. And so far that hasn't happened. And it's kind of cool because you would think that should have happened, right? With the rest of the crypto market just crashing. So for example, let's go take a look at the abusive daddy coin, not Tate's coin, but Bitcoin. Obviously, they call it the God market. Very abusive god and daddy market of a coin has dropped to the tune of like 20% here. And that's just from where we broke down, right? From the top, from where it was, it's down about 30%. Now, of course, you veterans out there know that this is pretty normal for a bear market, and everyone's crying in the streets about their losses. And actually, you know, I'm being really hyperbolic here because in reality, Twitter has been pretty notably silent. Like, yeah, okay. Some people there's always people saying it's over, and sometimes it is over, but maybe we don't have quite enough evidence to say that at this particular moment. The chart doesn't look great, but that doesn't mean the the bull market's over. Basically, you know, Bitcoin just poked above the previous all-time high here at $74,000, set that, and then we did this sideways chop for a long time. Then we broke out with the election because of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, the mythical strategic Bitcoin reserve that still is somehow not forthcoming. But anyways, regardless of the sort of news cycle out there, it would be completely unsurprising to see Bitcoin come back here and tag this previous all-time high, right? Because 73,000 as compared to the previous all-time high of 69,000 or whatever, like that's a marginally higher high. So it's really not terribly unexpected to have a 30% drop in a bull market, and nor is it unexpected to finally beat the all-time high, like in a sustainable, you know, putting on, let's see, do we have like 2 months here? I think it was like 2 months of close above the previous all-time high. Looking at the monthly candles here, yeah, I mean, we actually had 1, 2, 3, 4 now, 4 closes above the previous all-time high. So, you know, that's a really good sign, again, that we're in a bear market, that there's probably more gains to come. Listen, guys, I can't tell you that a macro crash will not happen before, you know, those gains come. Like it might, like hypothetically, we could be entering into the macro crash season here. I mean, we're already in the window. It could happen now at any time. So we could see everything flip negative next week. It's totally possible. Anyways, the point is that, yeah, coming back down here and retesting this all-time high is just how charts behave. You actually want this. Like, you want to see this retest. This puts you in a position for sustainable action for the months into the future, for, you know, maybe even the next year, 2 years into the future, hypothetically. I am having trouble, as I've mentioned, I am having trouble seeing where's the liquidity going to come from to just smash us higher to 150, 200K in short order. I don't see where that liquidity is going to come from. However, we do have a situation that has unfolded for many months now, really over a year, where there are these steady gains that just keep coming, right? The gains keep coming in steady. Really, they're in fits and starts, is the way the Bitcoin chart has moved. But the S&P, the traditional markets, have just put on incremental, step-by-step, brick-by-brick kind of gains for over a year now, for well over a year. And so, you know, the economy is always kind of adding new liquidity, and there's always a new company, and they're always printing a little bit more money here, a little bit more money there. So, you know, we could sort of incrementally get to 150, 200K. So maybe that could happen. But without a macro crash and a subsequent intervention, I don't see how we're just going to smash to the heavens, to the highest heights of new Bitcoin prices. So yeah, there's a little bit of rambling for you on what might be happening with Bitcoin. So, and we'll go back to that in a second. So, but just in context, you know, Bitcoin has dropped like 30% from its local highs and its all-time high in this bull market, and Monero did about a 15% drop. So, yeah, we're dropping about half as much. This is also apparent on the XMR versus BTC chart. And yeah, basically we ran into the to those levels that we've been eyeballing now for a while. Really, ever since we kind of started doing this, we said, hey, normal wave magic action would put us up here into this zone here, and we've basically touched that. This is a good point to start saying, hey, at what point could this, you know, maybe take some time and then come to a reversal here for a period of time? Nothing goes up in a straight line. These levels are not hard levels. So in the XMR BTC ratio here, we are looking at, I believe that would be 0.002. So like 0.2% of Bitcoin's total price, or since they have the same supply almost there, this is also kind of a market cap chart at the same time. But again, these blue lines here, the upper standard deviations, this is not a hard stopping, like line that, prescriptively says you shall not pass. We could, it's common to get up here into this area, maybe a little bit above and come back down, or sometimes like get a wick, right, spike up there. But generally speaking, this is the zone where you kind of expect to find some consternation of price before it can decide to do something else. So yeah, and the other thing I was pointing out last week, that entering this zone kind of tells us that we might be entering a zone where the paradigm, the market, maybe not paradigm, the profile, the market profile might be shifting just a little bit, right? We could say, okay, Monero has made a pretty good comeback relative to Bitcoin. That typically happens when markets are flat to down. Monero tends to outperform, and that's just a standard way of price management that we've talked about over and over again here. They do it for gold, they do it for Monero. They want to suppress the price of Monero when everything is pumping. They don't want Monero to pump with it because they want the negative sentiment generated. Oh, that privacy shitcoin it doesn't have any gains, right? Those fucking autistic maxis and the rest of the market. They want everyone to think that. And then they give that price back slowly, right? They balance their books. They balance that equation on the pullbacks when everyone's like, oh, I don't care, my bags are down, and no one's like actually really watching, right? So it's about psychological management, because they've already maxed out the fractional reserve. They've already maxed out like the absolute fraud components. So they really try to generate the psychological component to the greatest degree that they are able. Okay, so yep, that's Monero versus Bitcoin, doing pretty good. We can even see it here if we hop over to the Z-scores. Again, Z-scores being a way to sort of normalize everything to a 0 point with statistical tools that are common, known, nothing fancy, nothing inventive here. This is just applying a simple tool that I've used other times in professional context to normalize sets of data so that you can compare them. Monero, you can compare them relative to their own price history and their own volatility, but two, relative to each other. So as you can see, Monero is basically flying high, sitting here at the top. That blue coin in dark that we talked about last week that I don't like so much is also kind of in the same area, which is unsurprising because, as we noted, their charts actually look very similar. They look crazy similar. Like if you showed me the one, I would maybe have a hard time distinguishing it from the other, depending on the time frame you showed me. Bitcoin, interestingly, is like the Z-scores on Bitcoin are down quite a lot. Everything else seems to be holding just a little bit better. But again, Bitcoin also sort of took off and left a lot of other things in the dust for a period of time. So this could just be, returning of sanity or something like that, normalization to the market. Another like little happy chart I wanted to show you quickly here was the XMR.D. So, I mean, it's maybe on this timeline, this chart doesn't look very happy. So pretend you didn't see that. We'll just go to the 4 hour, maybe the 8 hour. If I can do it, dang it. There we go. Okay. Here we go. This chart looks happier. Just cherry pick the timeline. I promise you'll find a way to get happy about any chart. Yeah, so here we are, Monero sort of outshining the rest of the market to the tune of about 67% since November, right? Since the kickoff of the major bull market here, or the major bull market surpassing previous all-time highs. Monero transactions, however, don't seem to be doing much different. They are still centered just below 30K. You would call this moving average, maybe like 27,000 transactions, but it's still though, like we've actually, like if you come and really think about it, the Monero transaction counts have significantly increased from, say, about a year ago, right? Like going back maybe about a year ago, we were more centered around that 20K area for quite a long time, like really quite a long time. And ever since, let's just call it, let's just call it January 2024, so about a year, we moved up to that 25K range and occasionally into that 30K range. So it does look like transaction counts are increasing. And it's funny because this is like we're seeing slow, incremental, steady gains on the Monero price, and it does seem to have some corroboration to the transaction count chart. Please don't mistake correlation for corroboration. I'm not saying that these are correlated, but there is some congruence here that I would like to hallucinate and believe. Let's go and check out the mining difficulty as well here. So the mining difficulty. Wait, no, not the difficulty. The hash rate. There we go. Yeah, so the mining difficulty now sitting around 4 gigas pretty consistently since what is this date? For about a month, since like the end of January, sitting around 4 gigas, flexing up here up to maybe 4.5 gigas. I think there's another way to like calculate this because I've seen another chart that actually shows this slightly higher, so maybe up to 5 gigas. I think it just depends perhaps on the time frame that you want to like do the analysis, right? Do you want to look for an hour? Do you want to look for 24 hours? But yeah, so there's our hash rate continues to climb. Transaction counts kind of flat overall for the last 6 months, but would like with room for improvement. Okay, say room for improvement. I'm curious about the privacy shitcoins. I actually haven't looked at these all week, mostly because I don't care. Sounds like Tari is actually going to come out. So sorry, Xano bros, you're going to have some fundamental problems and headwinds because Tari is going to merge mine with Monero, and y'all don't, right? Y'all don't merge mine with Monero. So I think a lot of people are going to take that as a sign of, well, let me rephrase. Tari partially merged mines with Monero. I wish they had done a little bit more percentage of that mining that would be merged with Monero, but at least it's still some, I believe. Although I haven't heard from any, I haven't checked on Tari in a long time. So anyone that knows about it, feel free to shout out in the comments and tell us what's going on there. But at any rate, Tari is supposed to be like this NFT kind of chain, if I understand Fluffy correctly.
Don't worry, it's just going to be an April Fool's joke.
Probably. It's the Tari has become the hashtag 18 months of privacy NFTs. But maybe for real this time, for real. So if they do launch, Xano is going to have problems. Like there's going to be this competition for a market that basically has little to no demand. So I'm not really sure exactly what Xano plans to do to overcome that, especially since Tari will be merge mined. I personally don't care that much about Tari, but it'll be interesting to see, and it's probably worth some. It's probably worth some X's. You know, you probably get some gains. Right now, though, Xano, man, it's really having problems. Like it came down here into this level. Okay, pumped again. I mean, shit. You know what? I forgot. I'm not supposed to be making predictions here. I shouldn't even put the wave magic on here. You guys can just figure out what you want to do. Let's just clear this. No more wave magic on Xano. Sorry, we're not going to influence that market. I don't want to be accused of anything. I'm just going to delete that. I hate to do that to the Xano guys. It's maybe wrong. Maybe that's wrong to treat them differently. I just don't want to influence that market, you know, and we can kind of maybe do that on the show here. So anyways, Firo pumped and dumped. It's a round tripper. It tried to be like Monero with make their chart for a second look like Monero, but didn't happen. Pirate Chain. Sorry, guys. Y'all are in the doghouse too. And dang it, my buttons aren't working. Maybe I'm just not pressing them properly. No, that was definitely TradingView's fault on that one. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Zcash, same story. You know, tried to pump, tried to look cool. Look, we have 329%, and then they're down like over 50%. In fact, their total drop here, Jesus Christ, how do you drop 70%? How do you drop 70? Just is fraud, guys. Like their special ingredient is crime. Yeah, that's not a real chart.
Yeah, what was up with that? That's so weird. So weird.
It's just their people, their market makers in the background, their market pumpery, fuckery, and all of the little tricks they do. Like everyone's like, but Bawdy, they would never do that. Yes, they would, and it's been proven. Like we have known that crypto volumes have been fake for like crypto volumes as one tiny example amongst many. Crypto volumes have been fake and gay since like ever, like since they started. Like take fraud is the rule in crypto. Mt. Gox collapsed on the basis of the Willy bots, which were allowed to buy Bitcoin with dollars they didn't actually have, dollars that they just synthetically created as a fucking dot on a screen, as a number on a screen. Sounds kind of familiar for the astute observer. But yeah, they pumped the price of Bitcoin way the hell higher than it should be, and then it crashed. And it just crashed because those dollars didn't exist on the exchange. And that was like one of the first, big fraudulent things. And then they found, oh, hey, all the volume on all these exchanges that popped up after Mt. Gox, that's also fake and gay because they do the statistical analysis on the numbers. Like you should have a certain distribution of the first digit and a certain distribution of the last digit. And when those distributions don't match, like that tells you that, hey, there's probably some forgery of those going on. They have since corrected their fakery to look less fake, but it's still pretty gay. So yeah, just know that fraud is a part of the crypto markets. Sorry to freaking, I don't know, rant and lecture on why that happens, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Zcash specifically, I mean, Zcash has a corporation behind it, and they directly get money from people using it. And the higher the price, the more percentage that they get of that, right? Or not, it's the same percentage, but effectively they get more fiat value, right?
I mean, I think that
I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I'm just trying to paint a picture here.
It's a reasonable speculation, and it's totally fine to make those kinds of speculations. And when you look at a chart like this, you say and you know that there's a dev tax, and you know that they have been locked, like holding arms or holding hands with the sort of corporate exchange complex, and they're completely integrated into it, and they haven't been kicked off even a single exchange. You have to start to say, well, maybe something is going on here with this alleged privacy coin, right? And
But they're
sure,
removed
they
from
have dual tech.
Binance. Were they not?
Were they? I don't
Thought they were,
remember that, but
oh, maybe it was just
maybe
whatever.
that's my selective bias at work for not remembering it.
Because I remember it being a few specific ones, and like it was a few privacy coins, but the scrutiny has always primarily been on Monero, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Monero has like pretty openly intended to be easily private for everyone and without having to jump through hoops and closing as many heuristic gaps as possible. Whereas Zcash, hasn't really done that. It's interesting. It might actually be kind of a statement about heuristic gaps if you think about it. But that's again more speculation on my part. Although I think some of our devs would probably agree with that notion.
I would say Zcash is still on Binance, actually, at least for some countries, because I see it on their website available to buy. So yeah.
Are you still trading this thing in DJ style? You still making gains on it? Just the one time?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a little bit of Zcash, but
confessions with Tux.
I know. Am I gonna get like my like? I literally have right now. I think it's just like a few, like maybe like 5 or 6 Zcash. It's really nothing. So, and it's over for me.
It's becoming even less of nothing as this price continues to crash.
I know. I should have pulled out when it like slammed all the way up to $80.
Oh, bro, you didn't pull out? Damn.
No, I didn't.
I'm
not a trader like you are. So usually I just buy stuff and I don't really look at it that much.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what that's definitely one strategy I've taken this bull market. I have this like spattering of just various shit coins, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I could sell. And a couple times I'm like, this looks like a good spot to sell. I'm like, yeah, but if I'm wrong, and I don't want to worry about it. So I understand the sentiment. You think, hey, maybe it could go 10x, and if I lose it all, you just don't care. All right, let's go back to the broader crypto markets here. Bitcoin, I wanted to, we talked a little bit about, okay, it's not too unsurprising to come down here and tag this 74,000 level. Incidentally, let's go to the shorter time frame here on the 4-hour. Incidentally, that $74,000 level would coincide with a very prominent moving average cluster. My charts are loading slowly today. I apologize for that, but let's turn on the transparency on this particular moving average cluster. And yeah, so you'll notice actually a little bit of confluence here, not just between the white bands here, which the clustering of white bands, which are moving averages, but you're also getting this clustering of the blue bands as well here. So maybe we need to go to the 8-hour to make this more valid, legitimate. But yeah, effectively, guys, this is, if you're a trader, like this is the spot, like maybe not quite here. This chart, I don't like the way this chart looks in certain ways, but in other ways, like, there's an easy swing trade opportunity for everyone coming in here as price approaches 74,000. If you're a trader, it's totally worth YOLOing something at, I probably would stagger this. I would probably start at 75 and then stagger down like 74 and then maybe like 73 or 72, right? Put 3 staggered orders in there to get long the market, to get long Bitcoin, particularly if you wanted to. And again, it's, so far it's been the safest thing to get long, and we're crying about not having our alt season or whatever. But yeah, this is not unexpected price action. This is normal. 30% pullbacks, even 40% pullbacks happen, even in bull markets. So yeah, I mean, personally, I would get long here. Not quite, but I would be preparing to get long. Right now it's kind of catch a falling knife territory. Could you have caught this bottom? Maybe, right? On very short time horizons, which are even harder to trade unless you're just algorithmic as fuck. It's hard to trade short time frames, but you could have, right? You might have taken these red bands. God, the charts are loading so slow today. Whenever these red bands pop up, you'll see that it actually kind of nailed that bottom there. Anyways, okay, so that's Bitcoin. I'm actually somewhat impressed.
You think it could retry? I mean, it looks like the double top was playing out mostly, but I think you said last week that you thought maybe it could retry again for another ATH.
Yeah, so it could very well possibly be the case. We hit this, we do the retest, we complete that retest, and then maybe Bitcoin goes for another all-time high, and then maybe some macro crash happens, or maybe not. Like in this moment, guys, I recommend flexibility, right? Like just keep your thinking flexible and be able to go, just move however the market goes. Right now, adding to your positions, adding to your longs, probably a good idea. Maybe not exactly at this moment. Markets have a funny way of everyone having the same headliner spots, and then that being like Like everyone might be waiting to smash the buy button here at 73 or 74K or something like that. But the market might just not ever get there because people front run other people. They're like, well, I'll buy a little bit sooner. And they're like, well, I'll get it at 75. Well, maybe I'll buy at 77. And also market makers, you know, the big money, the whales, they obviously are a factor in there. So they might not let you get your buy orders. They're probably seeing the markets. So, you know, I mean, even right here, you could still, if you're a bull believer, you could add to your position right here and be comfortable with it. But it's still in the neighborhood of catch a falling knife territory in my mind. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see if that turns out to be correct or not. But that's also kind of why last week I was like, I don't really have any opinions on where this market goes. I didn't like that it was kind of riding the lower levels here. I personally, it was like a no man's land. So anyways, yeah, that's how that looks. Bitcoin dominance is actually holding on, continues to hold on, continues to do pretty good. This fabled alt season so far is not forthcoming. So sorry. Sorry if we can't get our degen gains, still waiting. You know, maybe altcoin season is more so driven by a liquidity expansion event as opposed to being driven by Bitcoin new all-time highs, or maybe the combination of the two is like an important factor. But we are in that zone where it's like altcoin season should happen some point, and it should happen now, right? And it should happen like maybe it should have happened a couple weeks ago. It's still not like terribly too late. It's not like pack it in, it's over, boys. It's not quite over yet, but we are kind of waiting here like the fucking skeleton at his computer. Okay, I think that's all that we need to talk about for Bitcoin. We talked about hash rate. Let's take a look at the macro, because the macro has taken a slightly concerning turn. We could take a look at the reverse repos, which have kind of notched up here. One thing that I've noticed about these pumps in the reverse repos, they're always these spikes and then they come back down, right? So for the past 2 years, the profile of reverse repos, which is money parked with the Fed overnight by institutions, is you get spike and then immediate come back down, spike and then it comes back down. So if we were looking at some kind of sea change in the macro situation, we would see something like a spike, hold, and then another spike, and then hold, right? You would just get a normal chart pattern that is not wicky, doesn't have a bunch of wicks going on, but instead actually moves towards the upside, shows some sustainability, and then makes another move towards the upside. That would start to become concerning because it means that big institutions are actually leaving risk in a more, I don't know, in a more sustained fashion or a more like headliner type of fashion. I don't know what word to use there, but you know, it just indicates that it would be indicating, if that happens, it would indicate that institutions are leaving risk and protecting themselves, protecting their stack. So if you see that in reverse repos, if we see that where we get this sustained higher incremental higher highs and higher lows, that's a sign that we need to be careful about. Oil has also now come back down into this trend that we had talked about for quite a long time, fucking September, if you really look at it. And it's still holding on. But again, I feel like in a lot of ways, guys, I feel like this is our alpha, right? This is the thing that people aren't really looking about. They're not talking about it on social media. It's not prominent out there. Yet I believe that it is very likely correlated with macro crashes. And it's a leading indicator by like ever so slightly. We're talking like a week, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So again, as we've talked about, getting into here is a yellow zone, right? And then getting into here is a danger zone. So for those listeners out there that are not seeing charts, we are currently at about $70 per barrel on oil. The range between, say, 66 and 69 is kind of this yellow light range, like, hey, be careful, something could be about to happen. And if we start breaking down, if you see multiple daily closes at 66 or lower, that is your sign that that shit's starting to get real and you need to protect yourself. So if you're watching the news, Fox News, because I know you guys have the MSM constantly plastered on your TVs, maybe it's actually on the wall at work if you work. If you see oil 66 and closing and you see that a few days in a row, you need to go get into the charts. You need to come to the price report here on Saturday. You need to figure out how to protect your stack because it's a very high chance that
I got the CNN and Fox News IV drip. Don't worry.
Yep, it's like that cocaine and coffee we were talking about. You just need a little bit of motivation. You know,
I want to buy gas for $1 again,
bro. I remember when I first started driving, it was like 70 cents. Like, holy crap! I mean, that was only temporary, but
I've never seen that in my entire life.
Yeah, well, if I want to sound like an old timer, I can be like, well, I was driving.
Bawdy has UNC status, okay?
I'm an old man now. All
He's
right, Uncle Bawdy. Yes. Or no. All right. Next, moving on. We're almost done here. God, I've rambled too much today. I apologize. I apologize to everybody. Gold is pulled back here. Why am I on the 2-day? Let's go to the 1-day. I don't know why I would be on the 2-day. Sometimes you want to compress the chart. Actually, I take it back. Did gold set? Gold kind of set a tiny, itty bitty, tiny higher high on Monday, and then the rest of the week it sort of pulled back. And that kind of makes sense when you look at the Dixie, which pumped. Again, we've talked about this before. Dixie and gold are basically anti-correlated, usually, but not always. Yeah, so effectively, the dollar index pumped. Oil had problems. Reverse repos have spiked. So it would be completely unsurprising for us to meander on over to the S&P 500 and say, oh, wow, we actually had a little bit of a pullback here. 5% this week, the S&P has dropped. So, yeah, risk assets, there seems to be a little bit of aversion to risk at the moment. NVIDIA has taken a major drop as well, down 14%. Still basically trucking along that, along that horizon for the past 7 to 8 months. When NVIDIA pumped, and this vertical line was the day I said NVIDIA is not a bubble. And so far, it hasn't been a bubble, but it will crash with the macro.
I mean, they beat their quarter one projections, so to be fair,
yeah, they beat their quarter one projections from. You mean their fourth quarter projections?
Or sorry, yeah, the fourth quarter 2024 projections.
It's interesting though if you look
by
at
like $1 billion, $2 billion, something like that.
Inserts Dr. Evil pinky finger. There's it's interesting though because they are kind of at these, I wouldn't say low levels, but they're definitely at local lows despite that news. So I don't know. I mean, there are signs in the market now that are returning that show things aren't totally well, but they're not flashing imminent signs of crash. But if they continue along this trajectory for even another week or so, we really will be looking at oh shit, this is it, guys. Prepare yourselves because massive opportunity awaits for those that know how to, that are versatile to take advantage of the situation. Bonds aren't doing anything, same as usual. Bonds never do anything until they do. Again, we're looking for a massive crash, quick violent moves, quick crashes down in bonds and the rate of bonds, and a further correction to even more positive of the inversion or of the yield curve, I should say, which is no longer inverted actually. So I think we have a JPOW meeting coming up. Where's the schedules? Looks like March 18th to 19th, so we're still a little bit ways away from there.
Jay Powell's stepping down.
Oh, is he? Okay, shit, man, that's too bad. I actually kind of liked him. I know he's like a little gremlin.
He was like a meme for years.
Yeah. I don't know why I liked the dude. I just like the way he talked. It's like he was bored of his own bullshit and he didn't believe any of it, but he's like, I just got to say all this shit and they see through it, but I'll just go with emotions anyways.
I don't remember who it is now.
It's probably me anthropomorphizing what's actually just an android or some shit.
Okay, he's still in until next year, so May 2026. His term will be over.
Oh shit! I bet you his term is over after the liquidity expansion. I bet he just expands liquidity, and Trump is like, there's like a crash, and then he's like, we got to save the market, and then Trump's like, Jay Powell has caused the inflation again, and then he fires him. It's just like more theater. That's just me joking, guys. That's not a prediction. Please don't hold me to that. But
I will short right before it happens.
The Fed should not be lowering rates here. In my mind, at this moment, if the Fed lowers rates, that's an indication that they know shit's about to get real, and so they're trying to front run it slightly because the Fed needs to hold rates steady. I don't know what the market. I haven't checked what the market belief is on what the Fed's about to do in the next 2.5 weeks. At the next meeting, but in my mind, that's kind of like they shouldn't lower rates here. We already inflation ticked up, markets are still doing great. Okay, there's some pullback this week, but if they lower rates, that's definitely a sign that they don't have.
Yeah, that was surprising. Didn't they lower rates just a little bit recently? Just a little bit.
So,
or they maybe there were just talks about it.
They set themselves a range. They say the target range or something like that. But they set themselves a range so they can slightly adjust that mid-cycle if they want to, but the chart here doesn't show any significant. So the white line, this white stair-step line, currently rates are sitting at 4.32%, or the federal funds overnight rate sits at 4.32%. But I don't see any major change to this, but they might have slightly adjusted it. So Let's see. Let's just check everything else. I don't think there's anything else to talk about here.
Ethereum is.
You want to talk about ETH? Oh, bro.
ETH
You're
is
about to make people angry.
Yeah. It's not looking too nice.
Yeah, ETH is
But
sucking.
I think it oversold. So
I also think that, yeah. Still though, I kind of would have maybe expected ETH to make a bit more of a comeback. This chart is not horrible. Let's see how far it dropped. Oh god, that's gross. 50%. That's not good.
It's not too great.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sol is also like Sol is getting crushed as well though. So,
dude, Sol had flipped XMR in like December. It was like it went up to like 250, 260, and it totally lost half of that over the last like month or two. And it went all the way down to 130 briefly, dipped down to 130. And now Monero sitting a lot higher over Solana. So yeah, Solana's really a shit coin
chart. Maybe I need to replace the XMR versus ETH chart with the XMR.
Honestly, the XMR versus Sol is going to be way more interesting. It's like there's a lot more action going on.
Well, let's check this chart out. Let's just get some quick impressions while we're on the horn. Yeah, so big crushingness by Sol against XMR, relatively speaking. God, I don't even want to know how much of a loss that is for XMR. Let's just do the measurement though. So from basically almost the beginning of 2024, a little bit earlier, down to the bottom, Sol beat Monero to the tune of 90%. If you want to invert that, that's basically Sol did a 10x versus XMR. That's how you could think about that. Lately, XMR has done a 1.5x relative to Sol. This chart actually does look interesting in the sense that maybe, I mean, if you're just doing tea leaves analysis, and be careful about that, but right now it does look like XMR would shoot to the standard, to the moving average cluster here, which would imply, let's take a look, do another measurement. That would imply another like 70% gain of XMR versus Sol. Whether that's forthcoming or not, I don't know. You have to remember that not everything is technical analysis. I think you guys know that. And some of you guys really know that. And you really make that known, which is fine. I want to hear your opinions. Honestly,
if you cut out the right time, though, you could have done a nice arbitrage of XMR into Sol, because XMR was at like it held its price for quite a while during the massive sell-off. It was at like 125, 128, and Sol was already down to 140. So you could have definitely made a move there. And now Monero's down a little bit lower, and Sol went up a little bit. So Sol didn't recover as much as I thought it would, though. It's still sitting only around 140.
Yeah, I guess the contracts platforms in general, the two major ones. I guess there's Cardano, but I never hear anybody talk about Cardano.
Never even used it.
It's insane that it even has a market cap where it does. Like, how? Nobody talks about it. Nobody uses it. Heather is not on it. So there's another little question mark about that. So to put it nicely. Let's see. We have a comment from Mr. 1024 Anderson on YouTube. He says, Bawdy, switch to a Firefox fork. Mozilla Firefox is going full Google. Two things. Well, probably more like 10 things on there, but I'll try and stick to two. Yes. So for those of you that don't know, Firefox decided to really go full tilt into their Google loving partnership. Google funds them to like the tune of 90-95%, and they have for years. So that tells you a lot. But I'm going to say this wrong. I'm going to paraphrase it wrong. Basically, Firefox says that any data that you send over the Firefox platform in the browser, so we're talking mouse clicks, anything you type, anything you say or speak, as in on a podcast, anything that you do on Firefox, they claim, and part of their usage license agreement, they have the right to use royalty-free in basically any context that they desire, from like for in perpetuity or something like that. If you want to correct what I just said, that was a terrible paraphrase, but effectively they have the rights to use anything that you do in that browser for any purpose that they want. Profit, doesn't matter, training their AIs, advertisements, helping Google, whatever. Like, I mean, it is insanely Orwellian. It is vastly worse than it's ever been before with Firefox. It's always been pretty bad. So to answer Mr. Anderson, I'm speaking from a browser that is using LibreWolf. I switched that over actually this week. immediately when I heard that, and I just haven't got around to switching my TradingView charts to Firefox. So I will do that. I just forgot to do it before the podcast today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible that they've just done something very, very broad as like a legal measure to cover themselves for maybe some new feature. But at the same time, it's a really bad look, and it is incredibly broad. And like the truth is that Mozilla has over the course of 10, 20 years has severely degraded as a company and is really like, they're not the best for privacy anymore. And they don't push privacy like they used to. And that's just the truth. So this happening is like, it just looks really bad. So
yeah, Ben, that's a really great insight that you just said there at the beginning. I want to point everyone out that, like putting on a very flexible legal hat. Yes, Mozilla probably did this because my estimation is they're probably training AI or doing some kind of like AI stuff. And like particularly they want to just have carte blanche legal immunity from any foul thing that they might end up using this data for. And just to make that statement as legally broad as possible is the easiest way for them to cover their asses into the future. But the problem is, of course, as you noted, like how like the consequences that could actually have for users and for your data. And it's like that's just an unacceptable level of retardation now at this point. But your astute observation, I think, is that, yeah, this is probably illegal covering their ass measure as opposed to like some sort of like truly malicious intent to like tentacle your data. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of the same thing I thought as well.
Yeah, they said they'll revise it, but it is kind of like crazy that they removed this one particular section that says Firefox or Mozilla never sells your data, and we never will. They directly removed that on a Git commit, and there's like hundreds of comments under that Git commit from them removing that from there. Like it was like their easy TOS page that kind of like lays part of the TOS out, and it had this blanket statement about them never selling your data, and then just kind of remove that quietly.
Did they really say that they never will? Like, was that actually Wow. That's interesting because removing that could actually open them up to some kind of suit, especially if they derive a profit from it.
Yeah, I think it's possible it's over sensationalized, but it's still like, regardless, it's not a good look. It's like Mozilla's been on a constant. I'm very bearish on Mozilla. They've been very bare for years, and they don't do anything useful, and
they've been horrible. Like they
waste all the money that they get.
Do you remember when they nuked add-ons? They nuked everybody's add-ons because they mismanaged some signing keys, and everybody told them before, like all of the smart guys told them ahead of time, the way you're managing these signing keys for add-ons is really retarded, and you guys are definitely going to screw this up at some point in the future, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. Lo and behold, they screwed it up, and they nuked everybody's add-ons, like NoScript and all the things that like it's probably crazy. A lot of people actually got compromised as a result.
It's crazy. Oh, we got a couple XMRChats here. No tips, 7 cents. Is it likely that XRP or some other shitcoin passed ETH for the #1 altcoin spot?
Let's check it out. XRP. Let's do the long version.
ETH's been #2 for quite a long time now, so that would be.
It would be incredible if it did, but I'm not sure. It doesn't. No, it doesn't look even close.
No, Ethereum still got double the market cap of #3.
Yeah.
Which
it's not even close.
Tether, but if we're actually talking about another like coin, XRP is #3, and it's less than half of the market cap of ETH. So yeah.
Actually, I'm looking at the wrong chart here. There we go. Crypto cap chart is what we need. So it's like you said, 50%. Oh shit, XRP actually did have early on, 2019 XRP actually had flipped ETH for.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay, but didn't last very long.
No. It's kind of like that moment that ETH almost gained market cap parity with Bitcoin. Man, that dream that I had is starting to slip away. I can't claim I can't even give that 50% odds anymore. Not without a macro crash.
Sad.
I know. But maybe Solana, right? I mean,
that's the thing though, is that like ETH is so expensive now that like all the meme coin stuff moved to Solana, and so it kind of just naturally, like, especially like when Trump coin came up, Solana, like within like the day of Trump coin coming out, it gained like 20% just because of all the liquidity going into Solana. which is crazy, but it's because it's cheap, it's fast. Like, yeah, okay, it's kind of centralized. Running a Solana full node requires an insane amount of hardware, and there are times when the entire Solana network has been down, which is like, it's like, what is this? Is this like, I thought this was not supposed to be able to happen, but because it's cheap and it's fast, like all the meme coin stuff has moved to it because like Ethereum is just so expensive for doing small trades.
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ETH layer 2s. Now there's like Base, there's Arbitrum, Polygon.
Yeah, Base, I think, yeah, Base is pretty fast and cheap too. But it seems like people have preferred Solana over using the Ethereum L2s for the most part.
It's crazy. It's like, it's this weird dichotomy where Bitcoin has this massive market cap and almost like no capacity main chain. And all their converts are like, L2 is going to crush it, but their L2 sucks. ETH has actually pretty good usable L2s, but no one wants to use them anyways, even though they're pretty good. And so people,
yeah, what's the reason behind that?
That might not even be like Solana is probably pretty centralized, as you mentioned.
Because I mean, you're right. ETH does have some decent L2s, but it seems like people have overall preferred to just like go with Solana. Like all of the recent celebrity coins have all been Solana. The Trump one, the freaking Argentina Libra one, the Bahamas is doing their own coin on Solana. It's like they're all doing Solana. I don't know why, but it's just the one that's been chosen. So
it is interesting. Like it has some. So they have 400 millisecond block times, and I have no idea how their technology works. But despite the what's the right phrase for this? The speed of electricity. Despite the time it takes to send a packet from one part of the globe to the other, they can still somehow maintain synchronization across nodes, even with that delay included, because they have some, like, I don't know, secret sauce technology that makes that possible. Probably their secret sauce is probably just centralization disguised with a lot of fancy words. But that's also me being an asshole. So maybe it actually does work, because I haven't actually looked into it. But
yeah, I mean, I can't really speak directly to it. But what I do know for sure is that there has been multiple times in history, even last year, where Solana network has just been down.
Yeah, that shouldn't really happen. Like even when ETH had problems with with some of their front end providers, the network still continued on. Like the blockchain still continued on in a fashion that you would expect it should, even if it wasn't totally accessible for certain dApps. But maybe none of that matters.
And then I think we had another one more from FD tip 25 cents on macro. Gammon pointed out Buffett cash position even higher now than before 2008 GFC.
Yeah, I've heard that actually quite a few times. I've seen it too often that some of these headliner big name people like do something and then the market like just does the opposite. So for example, Michael Burry, he was like the first person to identify the housing crisis and then short the shit out of it back in I think he did it like 2005 or something, 2004. So he was early, but he wasn't wrong. But anyways, he's gotten some fame lately, and people want to see what he's shorting, and then it just never turns out. So you got to wonder, okay, I'm not implying any like malicious intent on the part of Michael J. Burry, but it is possible that he's using that fame to sort of counter trade the markets. And who knows if Warren Buffett would do that? Warren Buffett has talked bad about cash for so long. So how is he in this big cash position? I don't know. Does he not believe in America anymore? He knows it always goes up. Why would he hold cash? Like, why wouldn't he at least hold gold? Isn't that dumb? Like, he should know well enough to go into gold. So I have questions.
Oh, this was interesting. I don't know if you ever looked at the PHS, but apparently the PHS hit a very, like, I don't know if it was an all-time low, but it was like a big low, which is pending home sales for like a long time. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's a metric that I haven't looked at, but I'm gonna write that down. Let me maybe you can comment on it next week. The actual home sales currently don't look like terrible or anything. Let's see, where do I keep this chart? Here. So you can notice the sawtooth action in the yellow, and then I draw vertical lines. So we basically should see a tick up here. I don't know when we're going to get the data. It's always kind of laggy. The last data we have is from January 1st. We should be getting some data soon. But this thing should start ticking up. But that's another good indicator.
If it doesn't,
It's over. Nope.
Honestly, it needs to happen, dude. It's like real estate is. Oh my word.
Yeah. I mean, macro crash is good for our bags. It's bad for inflation because it implies they have to do another liquidity expansion. And liquidity expand like 2000. So here's a like little bit of trivia that people don't totally understand about 2008 and what the libertarians got wrong in 2008, including myself. When they reinflated the economy, they didn't reinflate banking money. Now, I know this is like kind of a weird distinction, but the way the system works, there is bank money, what you traditionally think of like money that you can use that flows around the economy, et cetera. And then there's reserves. And these are two separate circuits of money. The reserve circuit of money stays locked up in the Federal Reserve. And the problem, of course, was that the banks had effectively over-leveraged themselves, and the entire market was deflating, and there weren't enough reserves basically to back all of the bank money in circulation because of the leverage they had created. So in response, the Federal Reserve and Ben Bernanke, Mr. Helicopter Money himself, decided, I know, we will just buy these toxic MBSs and we'll put that as reserves. And that will reinflate the reserve circuit of the economy, and thus save the actual bank money side, the bank money circuit of the economy from inevitable deflation. And as a result, all that ended up happening was they sort of reinflated the economy, reinflated the money supply, or prevented it from deflating any further, and then we had a decade of marching higher in prices with very low in like real economy inflation, because again, the inflation happened on the reserve circuit side, and it was just enough to like to sort of keep things floating without like excessively printing tons and tons of new bank money. And when the economy caught a cold in 2020,
yep, and then that happened.
They actually inflated the banking side of the equation, the bank money side of the equation, which is what caused the inflation. It's difficult for me to believe that any new macro crash and intervention would not cause additional inflation of the bank money side of that equation. So if they intervene, you're going to have to expect to see inflation as a result, probably like on a 1 to 2 year delay. I think we got another comment here from, is it Aloha?
We got Hawk was on Sol, yeah, that massive rug pull, the historic rug pull. Yeah, Anon untipped 3 cents for rolling over shitcoin gain to Monero. Is it best for privacy to convert to the chain's main coin first as a hop, or swap to a coin join or Tornado Cash type thing first, or just immediately go straight into swap and XMR? For most things, you can't really do a coin join or Tornado Cash type thing. So for most things, you are just going to end up swapping from whatever it is. Like for Solana, I don't think there's any privacy tool you can use for anything on Solana. So you are going to swap instantly from Solana to Monero. But like if you want to maintain some privacy, you can use a new address every time, a new Monero address every time. So don't use the same address every time you swap to that wallet, right?
I would say that, yeah, like if you don't want them to know you that you swapped into Monero, you could totally do a coin join or Tornado or whatever, if there's a protocol on the chain that offers that. And then swap over to Monero. You have a plausible deniability. Probably.
Yes, for Ethereum, you could still use Tornado Cash.
Yeah, it's actually, I think with the way the courts have ruled, you can actually use that as a U.S. citizen now. It was struck down in appellate that OFAC
so now you won't even have legal scrutiny with it. Okay, well, that's actually pretty good. Okay.
Shit, we probably should have covered that in the news, and maybe we should we should circle back around at some point and cover that. Because yeah, that's actually consequential. There might actually be people in the audience here that have Ethereum, or maybe had Tornado Cash coins locked that they were like, I can't touch it because the government will hate me.
Well, I noticed that the SEC has been on a spree recently of withdrawing from cases against all these entities. Like there's been like over a dozen in the past week where they've fully withdrawn from, which is like ultimately good. But I also think it's there's now going to purposefully be less scrutiny for, and they specifically said, the SEC said this recently, that most meme coins would not be considered securities, which sounds good, but I think this is for all of these people who are doing these like pump and dump things, right? They need to get their ass covered like Trump did one, right? They need to get their ass covered. So it's kind of ultimately for the like free market, I think it's good, but
I mean, even
People
just
wanna
like
be
the
able
legal
to.
conclusion, I believe, is that is the correct decision. These meme coins are effectively baseball cards. They're not
Yeah,
like
yeah, they're
none of these
yeah.
guys is offering you equity in the productive capacity of a centralized management of funds for their endeavor. They're
No,
just like,
unless they
hey,
actually tell
dog meme
you.
cool.
Like, I mean, look at the Trump one, right? Like, there was just million disclaimers on the website, like, oh, this is just for like fun or whatever. You're not promising anything. So in that sense, it's like, yeah, I mean, they're not actually claiming it. You're gonna get anything. That's when it becomes a bad thing, is when you're claiming you'll make XYZ on something and then they can potentially get you for having an unregistered security.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shortwave Surfer tipped 25 cents. I'll buy USDC on Coinbase, withdraw to self-custody Solana wallet, and swap to XMR. Yeah, I think it's what a lot of people do to get Monero now, is just buying something on like Coinbase, Binance, and then, I mean, because Coinbase is the biggest one for sure. If you don't have Kraken, then people will buy something like Litecoin or even like USDC Tether on Coinbase, and swap it to Monero. I hope you're withdrawing that in the Cake wallet. Epic Trader 9001 tipped 25 cents. But when you compare the standard deviation of gold in regards to Sol in conjunction with the yearly growth rate of Monero, it's insane. I mean, has anyone really been far even as decided to use even go want to do look more like? I think you had me in the first half there, sir.
Standard deviation of gold in regards to Sol. Epic Trader, do you mean like, I assume you just mean like the wave magic, like the standard deviation clusters of gold as we divide by Sol? Let's just pull that chart up, I guess, for grins. What are we looking at? XAU USD divided by Sol USD. It's probably good enough. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you divide gold by other assets, particularly assets that have been pumpy, gold has this like same pattern. You'll see it over and over again. You divide by the S&P, same thing. You divide by Bitcoin, same thing. Gold comes like to the downside and then just like stays here for a long time. And it kind of wants to pump right now. It's still looking like it wants to pump more. And yeah, maybe it'll actually get up here into those moving average clusters. Let's go a little bit here like that. So maybe another like 50%, maybe 50 to 100% gold could pump against Solana here. Okay, but trying to contextualize the rest of your comment here, in conjunction with the yearly growth rate of Monero, you have to be more specific. You mean like the price growth rate of Monero, or like the supply, or the transactions? Never really been far even as decided to use.
Do we need silver to like do something?
Look more like. Yeah, I can't totally make heads or tails of your comment, Epic Trader. I apologize. Thank you for the 25 cents. If you're in the YouTube comments and you want to clarify without having to go deep into your pockets for another XMRChat, we'll try and respond to that. Or you could just send us another 25 cents. Gold versus Solana. This is a chart I haven't ever actually looked at. I'm actually about to get hardcore back into charts, guys. I've been kind of, lazy for some period of time here, but I'm going to get pretty hardcore back into
It's like, oh shit, I need to start making some money again.
Kind of, yeah. You make a big score. You're like, all right, let me lay on the beach for a while and chill. And then you're like, all right, well, I need to continue making the gains. It's not enough to rest on your laurels.
What about silver? Like, why doesn't silver ever, I need silver to pump.
Oh yeah, man, I learned a hard lesson with silver in the last bear market.
Why is it stuck?
2 bear markets ago. Yeah, somewhere in 2017, I actually moved into silver, and that was just a huge mistake. I should have moved into gold. Yeah, so let me pull up my
I had people telling me to buy silver years ago, and yeah, gold would have been actually the move instead. So thanks for that.
Let's see. So this is the gold versus silver chart. So this is gold divided by silver. So as this chart goes up, that means gold is performing, and as it drops, that means silver is performing. Right now, gold is performing effectively. The best time to buy silver is after a macro crash. So gold pumps because everyone's like, it's kind of like the safety play. And then everyone gets into the risk asset, which is silver, and then silver overperforms. But why the hell would you buy silver after a macro crash plus intervention? You would just buy Dogecoin or whatever. You just buy Trump coin or
just 10x on whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like just find the stupidest, most autistic BS that you can find, and then buy that. Like,
dude, silver has literally not moved. Oh, actually, no, it has moved since I bought it, but not much. Not much.
What's
not
crazy
much.
what's crazy is that gold is like, ever since gold has broken above all-time highs and continued to sustainably put on all-time highs, silver, there was like a moment right here where we said, hey, you know, you might have said silver's about to outperform gold because everybody knows it's a bull market and silver outperforms gold during bull markets, during metals bull markets. But that's not what happened. Gold has continued to outperform silver, which is actually a very unusual pattern. But that's why they say gold is safer. If you're pivoting to metal, typically it's because you're trying to protect your stack while keeping up with inflation. That's why you get into metal. Now, if you're
Trump
a trader,
is moving us back to the gold standard. It's happening.
Oh, yeah. I totally believe that.
Can you imagine, man? What would happen to gold? I mean, it would like 10x, right?
Yeah, maybe more.
That would be so
wild. On a
wild.
gold standard. That's the thing. We are partially on a gold standard. Gold is reserves across all central banks. Like the United States has a shitload
Gold
of
is going to be one of the
reserves.
Monerotopia sponsors this year.
Oh yeah,
the
gold that totally exists in Fort Knox.
Seriously though, gold backs. Yeah, what do you? When are we going to see the Fort Knox show? That's going to happen. They're going to do it. It's going to be hilarious.
It'll also be fake and gay. Like, will we be able to trust it? They weren't just tungsten plated gold.
So people are
bars,
saying there's going to they're thinking there's going to be more gold than expected. Like that's going to be the.
Nah, they would move it out if they actually had more gold. They would hide it somewhere. I mean, that's what I would do if I was them.
If Trump were to actually move us back on the gold standard, and like be, you know, try to get rid of the Federal Reserve, they wouldn't miss. They would succeed in assassinating him. So that's for
they
sure.
Wouldn't miss.
Sean is saying gold up, BTC down. Sean, by the way, if you want to be our special guest today, please do jump up on stage.
I do occasionally look at the BTC versus
Private
gold
chip
price.
50 cents. Thank you for that. Yeah, I guess that's mostly it. For price report.
Oh, that's more than mostly it. We've
I know. I was
round
just
and round.
yeah.
We gotta have a Tari show at some point. Now that Tari's finally coming.
Yeah,
to
we haven't
fruition.
heard from Fluffy in a long time.
Like I had them on the show back in the day. It's literally been so long. I don't even know what the project is. What is its current iteration? You know. I would
supposedly
like to know
they
more
launch in
about Tari.
April.
Yeah.
Until then, they'll continue
Soon,
to get the
soon,
Nothing Ever
soon.
Happens award.
What's their pre-mine situation, dev tax, funding? Anybody have insight into that? Like I heard they're like VC funded, right?
Man, I don't know. I used to pay attention to it like 2 years ago, and then they
I never really got
kept sort of changing, and then I stopped.
Yeah, initially, when Tari was initially pitched, it was pitched as being like a second layer to Monero. Like that was the initial, we got people excited about it, and then it slowly became its own coin, own project. And yeah, I don't really. Does anybody know the fundamentals?
The whole thing started before I was even in this community, but even then, I hadn't really looked into it much because it just there's a shit ton of promotion.
Is there a founders fund or whatever? I mean,
no,
I don't know. Fluffy, come on and
that'll be for
educate us.
Yeah, someone will have to come on next week to. Oh, I bet. You know who would come on? Naveen would come on. He would talk. Yeah, he would definitely come on.
And so, can we from day one point our Monero miner to mine Tari as soon as this thing launches?
No, I don't.
Because that would be sick.
Well,
I think they have some partial level of merge mining. Unless that changed, I think they wanted to maintain a.
Merge mining was always the set. Yeah, that was always supposed to be. Once it was no longer a second layer to Monero, that it was merge. The idea was it was going to be merge mined with Monero. But
yeah, it seemed like it wasn't even a product looking for a solution or a product looking for a problem to solve. It was like a team looking for a problem to solve. I don't know. It seems like Xano kind of beat them to the NFT space, but
yeah, they want to do it feels like it's a little late for. I mean, I guess it's not going anywhere, but they definitely missed the euphoric retard stage where everybody was just like NFT. And then meme coins, I don't know. It's not right. it's gonna, I guess, continue to trend up over time. I mean, there's so much that can be done in this space, though, right? Like putting different assets on these chains. Like we're seeing just the beginning of that, but I don't know what the winning protocols are going to be for that.
Yeah,
I do think you're going to want a privacy version of Ethereum, right? Like something that really does that well. Or Solana,
big
whatever you want
points,
to call it.
big market cap for the first chain that does that.
What's that?
I said big points, big market cap for the first chain that launches and does that in a way that's convincing.
Yeah, could that be DarkFi, Tari, Dezano? I don't know.
No, I mean, I think so. One of the things that I heard Rick say quite a lot, it was that Tari is supposed to be kind of this non-fungible token thing, not in the sense of like meme coins, although that was usable, but he talked like concert tickets, for example. Like you could issue
that was always the
tickets.
example. Yeah.
But the thing is, like now there's so many chains that can do that, and it's just that's late to the game. And by the time they launch, it's very possible that DarkFi will also be launching. And it's like, well, why would you have a separate chain for NFTs when you could just generalize that on a full Turing complete contracts platform?
Yeah, why not just build a second layer on Monero too, right? Like, why don't we see that?
That's difficult.
Actually, somebody did just reach out to me recently, say they were trying to work on like a Monero Lightning Network.
I'm not a believer. I really am not a believer in Monero Lightning Network until someone like shows something that's, because I'm all about like having, having a payment channel. Like payment channels are cool, and a payment channel network is also pretty cool. But Bitcoiners shows why it's difficult. But Monero has dynamic blocks, so it could potentially be serviced, but you still have routing issues. I would like to see it. It would be a good scaling like assist. It wouldn't be like the main event, but it would be a nice assist. But the problem is that you need that challenge opportunity. It's an optimistic system that relies, like payment channel networks as currently implemented are optimistic systems that require the opportunity to present a fraud proof in the case that someone said something false. And that's inherently kind of a weak system and is attackable and kind of in a very fundamental sense. And furthermore, the problem is you need a time lock involved, but Monero has removed time locks or is about to remove time locks from transactions, which leaves you in this space where you have to do serial hashing as your sort of clock. And even like that starts to be, there's too much complexity involved there. No one is going to have a CPU dedicated to serial clock hashing so that they can do their fraud proof transaction contestation transaction for their payment channel network. Like that's so far in the autism savant weeds that like nobody's going to do that. They don't even use Arbitrum hardly.
Luke Parker will figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, payment channels would be possible in the next hard fork. Because of some additions.
The transaction stringing, like that's an addition, but we still don't have a viable time lock mechanism that makes that possible in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like not one that actually would work.
It is really ironic though that Lightning, as it exists right now, would already work better on Monero simply because of the dynamic block size. That is pretty ironic and that's just like it's like come on guys.
Yeah.
We got a couple more
private by
XMRChats
going
here
on and off the chain.
Yeah, that's pretty big too. And on step 25 cents to onboard noobs to Monero, would it make sense to tell them to buy LTC on a KYC exchange, then withdraw and do a couple MWeb transactions before swapping to XMR? Is this good at protecting chain analysis? Also, what's Arctic? I don't know why you're asking. Arctic's not here. Maybe you have to ask him directly. I'd say that's a reasonable way to do it because like the recommendation already is for a lot of people to, if the only way you can really get into Monero is buying LTC and swapping it, that's already the recommendation. But if you're going to put it into MWeb and maybe move it a little bit, that can definitely improve your privacy. Like MWeb is not a silver bullet, but it is pretty good. It's a pretty good start. So yeah, that's definitely not a bad idea. Nothing wrong with doing that at all.
It'll help obfuscate the fact that you went to XMR from Litecoin and maybe the exchange doesn't want you to do that.
Yep.
So.
Yep, it'll definitely do that versus without going into MWeb. It's fully like, you know, it's going to be easy to see that you swapped into XMR. If they can get data from the exchange that you swapped into, which most of them they can.
Brian Armstrong might slap you with a bad boy notice. Be like, yeah, you're not allowed to do that with these Litecoin from our exchange. Charlie Lee does not approve.
Kev tip 3 cents. There is actually a new tool on Sol called Leith that is similar to Tornado Cash. Oh, interesting. Could you do a quick check on how that compares for obfuscation before swapping to XMR? Or is it a risk? Can't really do a quick check for something like that. That's sorry, that's a bit
exactly
too much.
What I was going to say. Like
that's if you want us to do it. That's 3 cents. Okay, maybe like $10. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's interesting. I'll look at that. Not sure how it compares.
Probably based on the same constructs or very similar constructs, I would imagine. If they very closely copy Tornado Cash model, it's probably comparable. Without and that's the best we could say without being cryptographers and hardcore studying the protocol.
Yeah, none of us here are going to be able to determine exactly how good is Tornado Cash. That'd be cool though if it is very similar. That'd be awesome. That'd actually be pretty cool because Tornado Cash is actually pretty good, which is why it was they tried to shut it down really quickly. And thankfully, scrutiny has been taken off of it, which is cool. But yeah, with that being said, I guess we can go ahead and move into the news segment. There is definitely some news to cover this past week. It's been a decent amount of funny stuff happening in the clown circus that is politics.
It's been highly entertaining this week.
I hate that they're so good at entertainment too. Like I am entertained. Like I am definitely entertained. Like
we are falling for the entertainment.
Yeah,
but knowing that it is entertainment even makes it more entertaining.
It is. It's like meta joke now. That's how they got us.
God damn it.
It's over.
God damn it.
Thank you as always, Bawdy, for going over everything.
Yeah, salute to you, Tux. Good partner here, conversational partner for the Price Report and beyond.
Yeah, that was good stuff, guys. Good banter. I'm putting in the StreamYard link to anybody that wants to potentially be our special guest this week. We don't have one. Tux may be trying out some tallow fried French fries. I don't know, Tux, is that happening? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they'll be here soon. We'll see. But yeah, basically Steak and Shake, they've switched, as of today, they've switched all of their restaurants to 100% beef tallow for frying everything, which is really cool. And there just happens to be one near me. So I'm going to be trying, hopefully in a little bit here, I'm trying some out and seeing how it is. So
we got to get them to accept Monero.
Can I do a what?
A live blind taste test.
Unfortunately, I don't have the previous. If I went, I should have gone last night and gotten the seed oil version and then kind of mix them. But unfortunately, I don't have the previous version. I can only try the new one now. So it'll be I'll just be trying them for the first time.
We needed to have somebody delivering you this paid for with Monero.
Yeah, there'll be someone put it up on XMR Bazaar. I will buy you beef tallow fries from Steak and Shake.
I was just checking out. There's some good ones, some new ones that popped up. I like this. Which one here? I drive. This guy has a van. He'll drive anyone anywhere. He's currently in Kansas. But I like the way he wrote this up. He won't ask any questions, not asking for ID. You could transport whatever you like.
Whatever I like, huh?
I won't be checking your suitcases.
That's actually kind of.
It's written in actually. It's good. It's funny. It's very funny. You can bring it up.
He's basically your mule. He's your mule.
Bro, I wouldn't believe that for a second.
Yeah,
next thing we hear some Monero bros.
No, I think
the guy wants to.
He just wants to drive. Let's see.
Maybe.
Could
be.
Yeah, the change to beef tallow is a pretty big deal, though. Oh, let's see. Hold on, let me full screen this. Ford. Oh, he drives the E150 too, which is the free candy van. I drive an E150.
You might zoom in on that a little bit if people want to read it.
Yeah, if you reduce the width of the window, it'll make it larger on stream. No, wrong way. The other way.
Yeah, hold on. I don't think I can do that. Hold on.
You can hit Alt F8 and it'll be magic, I promise.
That works.
There you go. Oh, that works. Okay. Yep. A man with a van and no major plan. Current location is 66046. I drive a Ford E150 van and I'm offering driving, shuttling, delivery road trip for my friends anywhere in the U.S. I have a E150 conversion family van with no seats except the driver's seat. Good for moving furniture, carrying boxes. I could probably find some seats if their passengers need a ride. Class 1 license. This is not a commercial vehicle, legally speaking. Your good friend. He's just your friend, doing you a favor of driving you or your stuff wherever it is helpful for you. He's just a good friend. I just ask that you, my friend, chip in financially to the trip beforehand.
Not
The
a
way this is
taxable
worded
event.
is amazing. Nothing highly illegal up in here. Okay. Okay, so there you go. Nothing dangerous that will put me, my dog, or my vehicle in jeopardy with explosion, cops, or violence. Do not fucking stab or shoot me or get me mugged, my friend. I am peaceful, penniless, van-dwelling, agorist, just looking for something helpful to do. Message me and we can discuss your needs. I'm fairly open-minded. That said, your personal business is none of my business. Your luggage is none of my business. Who you are, where you've been, where you're going, what you're doing is none of my business. If I don't need to know, then don't tell me. I'm not the road trip TSA. I don't need to see your papers or to know what's in your underwear bag. I trust my friends.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
This
Pretty
is,
good,
this
right?
Is amazing. I was.
He's a good friend.
Our good friend has phrased this very well. I like it.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
It sounds trustworthy. Feds don't talk like that, so
I may have to reach out to this guy.
Feds don't even know how to talk like that. They're uncreative.
They probably just use AI now to write all their shit out. Be like, oh, make this sound like I'm like friendly and like I really want to.
It's very clearly not a taxable event. You're just hanging out with a friend and chipping in on the gas and the costs.
It's like putting cash in the donation bucket, you know?
Yeah.
Feds be like, Monero-chan, you're friendly Monero-chan. Are you looking for low receiver? I provide. 3D print. Call me soon.
We do need to get XMR Bazaar to the point where it's like, you know, an app on your phone and it's like fluidly functioning like Uber and Airbnb. That would be amazing. Oh my God.
XMR Bazaar app is definitely like the next step, next level. That would be amazing.
Right? Like imagine if you could pull it out and use it to like, you know, hail a Monero Uber driver, right? Like I could see that definitely taking off. People in different cities offering that service. It's a good way to make Monero.
Hey, I'll just say, oftentimes, if he's available, I do pay a friend in Monero to bring me home from the airport.
There you go.
Already, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's a good one too, because I mean these Uber they're getting ripped off.
Oh yeah,
right?
totally.
Like how much does Uber take? Like it's worth right? They're already driving around. Obviously it's, you know, a bit of a chicken and egg, right? But they could be on Uber plus using this, right? I don't know. How do their terms even work? Are they even allowed to, like, technically? Like when you work for Uber, are they like?
I often see ones that do have both Lyft and Uber at the same time. I don't know if that's allowed, but I see it. So
yeah, some third Monero taxi.
Did I catch the news correctly that tips are now no longer taxed?
Yeah, did that actually happen?
Let's see if it's in. It might be in the. Let's see if Tony has that. If not, we can pull it up. But I'll go ahead
and overtime, right? And overtime too, which is.
Yeah, so now like you could phrase,
tremendous.
hey, no charge, just tip me.
Right.
Requested tip at X amount.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I would like to hear if maybe Tony has captured that one. He always has good news stories.
Thank you so much, Bawdy, as always.
Thank you, Bawdy.
And yeah, let's get into the news segment with Tony.
The Monerotopia Weekly News segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
Tony.
Hey guys, happy weekend.
Happy weekend, Tony.
How are you guys?
Good, chilling. Enjoying the clown show.
What a week, man. What a week. So actually, since we talked about silver before, I thought that you guys might get a kick out of this one. So a buddy of mine actually gifted me some Wall Street Bet silver coins. And that was a couple of years ago. I'm not sure what price he bought it for.
Whoa.
Like 87.
It's actually like worth like way more over spot, like double, triple spot. Crazy. It's cool.
Okay, that's cool. Well, there we go.
Yeah, some of my silver is actually a lot more valuable. I have some 4chan silver rounds, like the Bogdanovs and a Wagme.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there was this one guy that minted his own. He was like on 4chan. He minted his own custom rounds, and you could buy them. They're super limited, and I have several of them. Like the Bogdanovs. I have the Bogdanovs on silver coins.
Come sell those at Porkfest, man. Oh my God, you definitely find buyers there.
When did you buy them?
Well, I bought them from a friend, like a year or two ago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Coins. And I wanted to share this meme too, since the guy on XMR Bazaar said no explosive and stuff. This Arab guy with his hand on his temple saying he gave my son the wrong backpack. It's kind of like a dark meme. I thought it was really funny. And yeah, I guess we'll get into the news. I actually decided to not include much about the meeting between Zelensky and Trump and Pence and everybody. So we can talk about it if you guys want. But I thought that this video is really, really funny, this AI video. So let's watch it. I don't think there's any sound.
Yeah, it was about to happen. It was about to happen.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty close. That would have been fun.
Yeah, if you could pay the clip of when they start going at it, it is pretty.
Yeah,
I didn't hear the beginning of like. It sounded like it was cordial in the beginning. I didn't hear where like, and I heard the part where it broke, like where like it was basically when he said he kind of threatened Trump. He's like, well, you'll see. You know, you have an ocean, in front of you right now, so you're not experiencing it, but you will one day. Like, oh man, like dude, you just threatened the president of the United States, like, and it's Trump. What'd you expect? So, like, was that intentional? Was that, like I said, I mean, or is
he's really small and he's really short, so he has to make up for that and being really aggressive.
I watched the whole thing. For the first 40 minutes, 50 minutes, it was peaceful. And he actually did say thank you a lot in the beginning. He opened with thank you this, blah, blah, blah. And then just in the last 10 minutes.
I mean, don't forget, this guy's literally an actor, He literally is an actor, the Ukrainian president, right? He was comedian, actor.
You want to play? I just sent you
Trump also a great actor.
A clip of it, Tony, if you want to pull that up. It's a short one.
Yep, sure.
It's just so funny.
Oh, God. Okay. Okay, give me 1 sec. Okay.
Don't expect wisdom from a guy that played piano with his wee-wee on national TV. He did do that.
It's true. It's true.
Guy's got skills.
Yeah, that takes some talent, yo.
This guy, he's definitely...
Wouldn't underestimate the requirements.
What was also funny was when he showed up and he gets out of the car and Trump sees him for the first time and he's like, "Oh, you dressed up today."
The humiliation started the second he got out of the armored
Oh my God! It's like, welcome to America, bro. Welcome to. You got Trump acting like it's the '80s again. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, let's go ahead and watch it. I mean, yeah, let's watch it.
Diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to
count one.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. Because
Part of the
dictate that. Remember this.
I mean, part of the issue is he doesn't, English isn't his first language, right? And like, I don't even know if he's picking up everything that they're, he's understanding the big points, but I don't know if he's.
Dude, that reaction from Trump though, as soon as he said you're gonna feel, and he said you don't know what we're gonna feel. That's like that is peak. That is peak.
Yeah.
But it's kind of true.
You don't tell us what we feel.
Yeah.
It's like a child arguing with his parents. Is this entire scene right here?
That's exactly what it is. Next time wear a suit, you bum.
And the whole you don't have the cards and
We're not playing cards.
On the gold card, I love the part where he says, "Listen, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be great. It might even be fabulous." I think it's like such a Trump thing to say.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't know what to
let's
think about this.
I mean, I kind of do agree with what Zelensky said in the fact that in the future we are going to have more powerful bombs, more powerful weapons. So, the ocean is not going to be a problem eventually, especially AI, quantum. They'll be able to just say, okay, what's the most powerful combination of atoms to create the most destructive, most long-distance bomb ever? Boom. So, he's not wrong there, but he kind of took it as a big attack. But let's watch the last 1 minute.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting, you said thank you.
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
He actually did say thank you in the beginning a couple of times. It was crazy. Like the first 40 minutes was peaceful. I thought the deal was going to be signed, and which I have my
I missed the peaceful part. I heard like the very beginning and
the whole thing, almost the whole 40 minutes.
It was peaceful up until that point, right?
Yeah.
When JD Vance started asking them some questions, and then it kind of just like.
Literally the whole thing, except like the last 10 minutes.
And basically the rest of the day was canceled, and he got kicked out, and they didn't end up having dinner and no signing of any mineral deals or anything like that. So
but you can actually see it in the stock market. The moment he started to talk, it just went down again. It's so funny, but it's such a I don't know. I have lots of thoughts about this one. So, but basically, if the whole thing was muted, this is what we are basically seeing. If there was no word spoken, that's what we basically saw. Just
It was incredible to witness it out front. It was like one of the most memorable moments, right?
Now, only if he could do the same to Mr. Netanyahu.
Right?
Instead of pulling out his chair for him.
I know, right? That meme that was going around. Oh my god.
Oh, we'll talk about that for sure.
It was like real Trump influenced Trump.
It's crazy. I like what Miguel said on YouTube. Reminds me of alcoholic meetings when everything is okay and suddenly somebody gets stabbed.
I mean, I do feel like they set him up, right? Like,
yes,
they were.
It was very obviously a humiliation ritual from the beginning. As soon as he got out of that sweet, safe armored vehicle, it was like the Vipers came. And it didn't help that for some reason he was wearing gym clothes. I don't know if that was purposeful. But that really It's like he didn't get on a tier that he was supposed to be on to arrive at the White House and talk to the leader of the global empire. And he came in fucking like gym clothes, right? It's like
well, that's his whole MO, right? He's always wearing the military garb, acting like he's like G.I. Joe. Right? So
Triple's not having it.
Exposing him over that. I think actually, if I did see a clip of that. One of the reporters, I think it was before they started talking. They had a little session where reporters were asking questions, and one of them asked them like, "Why don't you ever wear a suit? You don't own one?" And he's like, "Ah." He's like, "Why are you wearing suit?"
No, he said
it was pretty crazy.
He said, "At the end of the war, I'm gonna have a suit, maybe even better than yours."
Oh yeah. Oh my god, he did say that.
That one was, I don't know. I mean, with that, I guess, during time of war, I guess I don't know what to say about that one.
Is it true? I remember hearing at one point like his wife bought like a Bugatti. Was that just like some lie that was going around, or was that true?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
that'll be crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that.
This is a rumor going around at time. It was like a year ago.
No,
so I don't know if it was just like complete BS, like fake news, or.
No, I hope it is. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff, but yeah, let's move on. And so we talked about this last week actually and Doug told his position about Monero kind of being back in CEXs. And somebody posted a week ago on Monero saying navigating Monero purchases in the UK, looking for advice. It's kind of hard to get Monero in the UK, New York. So that's what he's basically asking, like how do I get it? Fast experience. And then we talked about it last week. We don't need CXs, but like Doug said, it's a nice exposure. More people would see it if it were back on some CEXs. And there are ways. To get Monero if it's hard for you to get, which is through swaps and things of that nature. And if you go in the comment section, somebody wrote, Strangle the Stork wrote, "I never tire of repeating this. Reto swap, former Havino Reto is the answer. Decentralized, peer-to-peer, unstoppable by governments, and daily growing. So unstoppable swap, stealth X, wizard swap, all kinds of stuff. Cake wallet swap LTC to XMR. So there's all kinds of ways. Now I did see BTCVPS now accepts Monero. I see the last blog that I've seen from them is from October 2024. What's this one? September. So it's kind of like a new company, I suppose, but they do offer Monero for their secure virtual server hostings. So in case you do want to, you can pay in Monero. You can check their services. Somebody asked in the comments if they can pay by the hour, not by the month. Some people want it by the hour. So if BTCVPS is watching, maybe that's something that you want to
that's cool.
Integrate.
Yeah.
But, so
they accept Monero now.
They do. Yeah, which is cool.
Sweet. Dude, everybody's accepting Monero. Anybody that like understands the value in accepting crypto in the first place.
Yep.
Is starting to accept Monero. It's beautiful to see.
But I do know who's not going to talk about Monero, which is the Crypto Summit from the White House. So the White House is going to host the first ever Crypto Summit. It announced that President Trump will host and deliver remarks at the first ever White House Crypto Summit on Friday, March 7th. Attendees will include prominent founders, CEOs, investors from the crypto industry, and probably nobody from the Monero community.
Why do we get Vic over there? Why doesn't Vic go hang out over there?
Oh, that'll be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
I know I brought this up in the Slack. I was like, hey guys, we going to the White House crypto conference.
Dude.
I do have a live
Can I
update.
look into this? How does this how do you get on the list? You gotta be
probably have to
sponsored?
be connected. I'm sure if Vic wanted to, I'm sure he probably could. He's reasonably connected. But I do have a live update. I just got my steak and shake beef tallow fries.
Oh, cool.
Plus an onion ring.
Should I pause the news? Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do a taste test. Now, what sucks is that I don't have anything to compare it to. I should have gone last night while they were doing the seed oils. and gotten some. So this will just be kind of a taste test of
Bring it up.
the main.
Run the special guest segment.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Today's special guest is Tuxedo.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Alrighty, let's see.
All right.
They're quite active on X as well. Should I switch to maybe this view? I don't know how to switch to myself though.
Or you got me up there.
I know. I'm trying to figure.
By the way, guys, anybody that ever wants to be a special guest, please do reach out to us and let us know in advance, and we'll get you up here.
All right. So here is. It's like a food review YouTuber. All right, hey guys, it's Tux here. Today we're taking a look at the Steak and Shake beef tallow. I don't know if it's gonna focus in. It's kind of.
I like the branding. Simple.
Yep, very
clean.
Simple.
Steak and Shake.
So today, March 1st, they have changed all of their restaurants across the United States. I think they're only in the United States. To using beef tallow in all of their fryers. So everything you buy from them that's fried, whether that be like the fries, onion rings. I don't know if they do like chicken nuggets or anything like that, but all of that's now fried in 100% beef tallow. That's I think organic beef tallow too. And they've been blowing up on X over this. And it's kind of a big deal because people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize, but before the 90s, pretty much every fast food restaurant fried everything in like lard or beef tallow already. So this is not a new thing. It was just during the 80s and 90s, all of these restaurants switched to these really cheap oils because it was thought that it was better for you. There was a lot of marketing behind it because a lot of these oils are like kind of like a waste byproduct. They're trying to take advantage of extra seeds to create oil, but the process in creating the seed oil and the vegetable oil, it's an industrial process that's very harsh and involves heavy chemicals like hexane, and the end product is something that's already rancid by the time it gets to you, and it's
like oxidized.
It's already oxidized. It's already technically rancid oil, and it has lots of carcinogens, and it's high in linoleic acid and omega-6. So it's very bad for you. But beef tallow is making a return. So they've RFK'd their fries essentially. And so they've got Steak and Shake has these they're smaller, like shoestring fries. They're not like thick cut if you like thick cut fries, but they also have onion rings. So let's go ahead and try just one of the fries here.
Bring the mic closer for ASMR.
This is the mic already.
Does that make crunch?
Yeah, these ones are pretty crunchy, but they're not super fresh because it took a little bit for them to get here. But
how's it taste?
Guys, give a like for Tux. Give a like for the show.
Yeah, very, very savory. Very savory. You can definitely taste the fact that it's not just like your traditional like canola oil. A very nice savory, almost kind of creamy taste to it.
So did they like significantly raise their prices, or I guess nothing?
I have no idea because I'd actually never been there. But there just happened to be one near me. So it's like, cool, I'll try it out. And they also have onion rings, which look very nice.
So how much did it cost for the? I guess you got just the onion rings and the fries.
I think the fries were like, I think it was like, I think it's a large. I think it was like $3 or $4.
Okay.
We do need somebody to start selling tallow on XMR Bazaar. I think Alaskanon mentioned he'd put something up there, but that'd be great. I'd get some.
Very good, very good. That's a good onion ring.
Okay, I've never been to Steak and Shake, so that might be my.
And then what'd you get, a burger?
No, I just got fries and onion ring. That was it.
Oh, wow. How was their burger?
I don't know. Never had them. I just had gotten the fries just because it was like a novelty thing.
Okay.
Do people
But everything else is probably lowest common denominator food, right? But the big deal is that they switched to
the
beef tallow for frying.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. That's a very savory fry. You can tell it's got just the fat from the beef tallow. It's more savory. It's more creamy, and you're not gonna feel like crap after eating all these fries. So that's pretty good. We'll give it a score. I'm not shoestring style fries aren't my favorite personally, but these ones do taste very good. I'll say for the taste, definitely probably like an 8.59.
No,
wow,
nice. Okay,
wow, all right,
very good taste.
These are
I'm sure somebody could do beef tallow fries a little bit better, but these do taste very good simply because they're fried beef
Their
tallow.
stock just bumped up 5%.
I don't know. Are they public?
The pre-market is up.
Tux's huge following. He's influencing the entire.
Hey, Bawdy, you want to
fast
pull
food
up
industry.
Steak and Shake? I don't even know if they're
it.
public.
Tux is pumping Steak and Shake.
Let's see the pre-market on Monday.
Drop the Steak and Shake meme before they do, and just like pretend you're the official meme coin of Steak and Shake.
No,
Probably
RFK will.
You'll make a smooth 100 mil, I'm sure.
It could be a little bit crispier, admittedly, but also these, I'm sure if you like order them there and eat them there, they'll be a lot crispier. They'll be super fresh. But yeah, taste is really good. Really, really good. So yeah, highly recommend if you have a Steak and Shake near you, just go try some fries out, and maybe even compare to like a McDonald's, right? Very good.
McDonald's. I haven't stepped in a McDonald's in a long time. I Five Guys. I like Five Guys.
Five Guys is I like Five Guys. They're decent. They use I think
Good
peanut
burger.
oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Maybe I
burgers
could
are pretty good.
slowly convince them every time I get a burger there. I'll move to tallow, man.
Yeah, McDonald's is the
in
one
10
that they
years.
used beef tallow before, and in 1990 they switched. So I never grew up.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
that.
like
Even
the
like my
original
mom, and I think
McDonald's
you,
back in the day was amazing. Like the original.
you
McDonald's,
grew up
like,
with OG McDonald's, right?
Nah, well, 80s. It was better than today, but yeah, it was still kind of nasty. But obviously in the 50s and 60s, whenever McDonald's was created, I'm sure it was like amazing, like the milkshakes and the burgers.
All right, I looked it up. Steak and Shake is held by Biglari Holdings, and they're not at all-time highs, but they're pretty close. They definitely have had positive movement here in the past couple months. So maybe there's something there.
The RFK effect.
RFK just made 100 mil.
RFK fries, I liked it.
Well, it's a cool precedent because like this is like the first time that a chain restaurant has actually switched back to beef tallow. I don't even know if they used it originally. Steak and Shake. I don't know how old it is, but this is kind of a cool first, and hopefully other restaurants will maybe pick that up. We'll see. We'll see.
Bullish on cows.
True.
I like this
Nice.
RFK Tux collab right here.
Bullish on organic, grass-fed, well-treated cows. You treat the cow good, it'll treat you better with high-quality product.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah, that's kind of that's an interesting point there, because if they're using beef tallow made from cows that have been grain-fed, you're still getting, it's not nearly as bad as the seed oils, obviously. But
We
you're still getting,
should open up our own Monero franchise of burgers, grass-fed burgers, beef tallow fries.
No, seriously though, if somebody wants to sell
raw milk shakes, come on, raw milk shakes, Monero only.
I want
I've
some
had an
raw
idea
milk ice.
since forever. I've had this idea since forever, and I'm probably never going to do it. So if anyone wants to rip this idea off, please feel free. Yeah, I thought it would be really cool to have a fast food health restaurant. I mean, you got, you kind of have your smoothie places and whatnot, but you don't have a fast food restaurant that's designed to get you something good and nutritious quickly.
Like
and
steak and
not
eggs.
overseas costs.
Steak and eggs. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you could have all kinds of stuff. You'd have fruit, steak, eggs, vegetables. Maybe you'd even have some sourdough bread, and you would call it Garden of Eden. So if anyone there wants to make that happen,
I always want to start a steak and eggs focused.
Oh, also trademark registered, even though I don't believe in IP. Garden of Eden trademark registered. Stupid.
Like there is nowhere to go to get like a good steak and eggs, like in like fast form, you know.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I would do is I'd probably
have, you know, good eggs, right? You'd have
cube it, because part of the problem of steak is you're like, how am I going to eat the steak while I'm driving in the car? And a lot of people need fast food like that. So you need to cube it up, put it into a cup where you can, like, I don't know, drink it or something.
You drink it. A blended steak and egg for the protein shake.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
I mean, you wouldn't blend it.
Pasture raised eggs
and put it into a cup so that you can kind of, you know, you can eat it and drive it.
No, seriously though, if somebody wants to sell beef tallow in XMR Bazaar, I probably would buy, because beef tallow seems to be a harder thing to just buy and store. Like Costco sometimes has it, but the one near me doesn't. So I can't just buy a bunch of beef tallow from Costco, unfortunately.
I have the beef tallow soap.
Ah,
which
okay.
is fantastic.
Is that the one from XMR Bazaar on that one seller?
I got all different scents. They're really good. This
Very nice,
one
very
is
nice.
the 100% beef tallow. It's got doesn't even have any scents. But all their scents are all natural too. Like she uses like real peppermint oil and like it's all natural stuff. The soap is really nice. But yeah, it's made from beef tallow.
If I made a soap, I would call it the Tyler Durden brand or something like that. Some play on that. I'd be getting a lot of inspections from the feds if you called it.
I was actually trying to convince my daughter to make it for Monerotopia Porkfest, because she wants to sell stuff there. She's making little bracelets. But the year she made the most at Porkfest is she started selling soap, somebody else's soaps. Some guy had like a basket of soaps that he like had been bringing to Porkfest for the last 3 years, and he gave it to Franya, and she was just, it's like the perfect place to sell soap because people are camping out. And she's like, oh, soap for Monero, soap for Goldbacks. And she would like peer pressure people. She's like, oh, you don't need soap? Like, how are you showering? Like people be like, all right, give me the soap, kid. Give me the soap. So I'm thinking if she could get into the soap business, it could be good. Somebody had put up like Monero logoed soap. Like, you know, it looks like little Monero symbols as soap.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like
I was thinking it'd be great if you put like a Monero private key in one out of every like 100 or something, and you win a Monero, right?
Dude, so that's like the cereal box. Like
imagine you're using the soap, and then like it's got a little. That would be. Tell you, man.
If she wants to maximize the hustle, she should like hire some kids to run around being like. Oh,
they do that.
Smells?
They do that at Porkfest. They coordinate. You see like little groups of kids working on things together.
No, I mean, amazing. But like she should just hire some kids to go around like, what smells? You know, and then like 10 minutes later she walks up with her
stink.
Yeah, exactly. Here's $5. Go over to those people and these other 10 campsites and just tell them that they stink.
And conveniently offer them some soap that they can purchase right there.
Kids soap mafia.
Borderline.
All right, let's move back into. Sorry for the interruption, Tony. Let's try to move back into finish the news segment.
Yes. Get us back on track. That was a nice special guest segment. Thank you, Tux. that was amazing.
Delicious.
You missed your calling, cool, man.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into the news section. Where were we?
I'm interested in this. When is the White House meeting?
It's literally next week.
Next week, Friday. And we all know who's going to be there. Michael Saylor, which said, and thank you, Mr. 1024 Anderson, for reminding me of this tweet. So he tweeted, sell a kidney if you must, but keep the Bitcoin. And I like what Peter Schiff said in the comment section. First, he told people to max out their credit cards and mortgage their homes to buy Bitcoin. Now you're telling them to sell off their organs. Have you no shame? Which it's what I have no words. How can you tell people to sell? Obviously, you know, not. I hope he's not literally saying to sell a kidney, but just like being so. It's insane. But yeah, so he's gonna be there probably most likely, and. Hopefully Vic is going to be there. We need some Monero people. Hopefully we're going to have somebody there. But
maybe Nick Spano will show up.
Yeah, hopefully somebody. But yeah, so also talking about Bitcoin, and we'll talk about centralized exchanges in a second. But let's say Bitcoin hits 1 million per coin. You check your balances and see funds temporarily locked for security reasons, exchange under maintenance, please submit KYC to withdraw. By the time we realize, it's already too late. And that's what Foundation Devices posted on X. And you, regardless of whether you have Bitcoin, Monero, whatever you have, just make sure you have the keys. That's very important. Buy it on centralized exchanges if you want, but move it out and just put it and own your keys. That's very important, because if not, and I hate Coinbase, but yeah, so in Coinbase, they're blocking transfers to recipients other than yourself. And if it is a self-custodial wallet, you have to sign a message to prove your ownership. So the crypto transfers are becoming severely restricted within Europe in Coinbase. So it says on a Coinbase screenshot, when sending more than €1,000, the only legal recipient is yourself. And this is part of EU's transfer of funds regulations. Then we have another screenshot right here. Go back. Actually, where is it? Yeah, so when receiving funds from another exchange wallet, you must fully identify the sender, including your passport ID, even if the sender is you. Haven't tried what happens if you don't comply. Worst case, whole account may be frozen, probably. But yeah, we see one account activity, you receive Bitcoin from an external address, and the second account activity, please provide sender information for this deposit. So you need to provide the sender information. And so many people use Coinbase. And I think I showed it to you guys last week, or I don't know. But if you go on the subreddit on Coinbase, every single post almost is just about how they got scammed, something happened, that Coinbase just moved their funds from their wallet and just moved it to somebody else. It's insane. I would definitely not recommend Coinbase. It would not be on my list of exchanges that I would have. Now, this was big. Let's talk about the Bitcoin hearing. Well, the digital assets that happened on Wednesday. And Justin Batchelor said on X that it was a stablecoin infomercial wrapped in regulatory fear-mongering with sides of KYC and chain analysis surveillance narratives. And let's go to this article. Yes, Wednesday, we had the Senate's first digital assets subcommittee hearing. And it was the first hosted by the Banking Committee's new Digital Assets Subcommittee and chaired by Wyoming Republican Cynthia Lummis, a longtime crypto proponent. And what I would like to talk about two things when it comes to this meeting. So the first, Virginia Democrat Mark Warner asked the panelists to discuss the possibility of stablecoin users conducting KYC processes, noting that an issuer may conduct KYC, but that a stablecoin may be transferred between wallets without those intermediate transfers going through a KYC process. He said, I want to get it to a regulatory framework that works, but I've seen, echoing what others have said from the classified side, oh my gosh, a whole bunch of bad stuff, Warner said. So help me figure out. And I recognize for some people, the anonymity and the disintermediation role of the blockchain plays, but how do we put some minimum protections from issuer all the way back to conversion to fiat? They really want to push KYC with in their talks. And then we have a post from Lola about this. She said, yesterday's first digital assets subcommittee hearing has us down bad for privacy, my guys. As stated by former CFTC chair Timothy Massad, self-custodial wallets are the reason we are seeing digital assets used for sanctions, evasion, money laundering, and Hamas financing, with other witnesses piling on the lack of KYC. We've talked about this a lot of time in the past, and I will show you some numbers just to kind of see where we are at when it comes to these, how much is being laundered in crypto versus other currencies. But she also said, going purely on vibes, it seems plausible that we may see Congress attempt to rewrite IEEPA and US code to apply KYC, AML, CFT requirements to self-custodial wallets and decentralized services. And let's go to AML anti-financial crime and financial crime compliance website. And this is 2023 data. I did not find, which was posted in 2024. I didn't find for 2024, 2025. I don't know. But yeah, let's take these numbers. I think they're probably bigger now in 2024. 2025 just started. But more than 3 trillion in illicit funds flowed through global financial system in 2023. So that's 3 trillion. I didn't expect it to be this big. It's huge. So let's take just scams and schemes, right? Almost $500 billion. We have 151 billion in the Americas, 113 in kind of Eurasia region, and then concentrated where India is in the Asia Pacific region, we have 221 billion, which is more than all the other regions in their respective regions, geographical areas. But yeah, so 3.1 trillion, and just to name a few, 782 billion was in drug trafficking activity, 346 billion was in human trafficking, which that's just 11.5 billion in terrorist financing, and we've seen scams and schemes. But let's go. So having this number in mind, these big numbers, let's go to the 2025 crypto crime report from Chain Analysis. And yes, they're big. It's in the magnitude of billions of dollars. We see for 2024, 40.98 billion, but the estimate is 51 billion. Is still a large amount. And we see that, let's see what the biggest one is. I guess we'll name a few. So this one, based on the color, seems to be illicit actor org. This one seems to be a sanctioned entity. Then we have scam, lots of scams for sure. Stolen funds, that's a little bit sanctioned jurisdiction. But the numbers are definitely not comparable. Like we're talking 50 billion. Well, okay, let's take the 2023 numbers. 46 versus 3 trillion. And I guess let's include the 46 in the 3 trillion. I guess they included that, whatever. But it's still a large discrepancy. But it's still bad, but you just cannot compare it. All the time trying to push this AML just to try to regulate it as much as they can. They're just trying to push it down your throat and how horrible it is. Yet they don't see all the good that people are doing with crypto and what kind of governments they're escaping. And I've seen some stories a couple of years ago of people from Africa mining some cryptos and making quite a good money for their region. And so yeah, all the time, whenever they can, they try to crack on it. And yeah, now it's supposed to be the crypto. America's going to be the crypto country of the world, but we're not going to see Monero being pushed. We're not going to see what should be pushed. So yeah, these were interesting numbers too.
Oh, I see. They have the definitions of illicit on there too. Yeah, some of that's actual stuff that's not good. Some of it's probably like things they just want to stop just because, right?
Yeah, which I agree. Like if you can stop these things, that would be awesome. Of course. But it's obviously, I would love for these things to stop, all the scams, also I just thought it was so funny when I looked at the other picture, the other graph, and just how concentrated it is in the India region, Asia Pacific, because there's so many scams. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about. Let's see. We got a couple more, and that's it. Yeah, let's bring this up. We talked about.
Do you have a clip from the Senate hearing?
I don't. No, okay. I don't. We can bring one up if you want. Should I look for one?
That tweet that you read before, that didn't come with. Did I have a clip or is it just a photo? I mean, it is pretty wild. What I listened in on that. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they're basically talking about turning the stablecoin into a programmable CBDC is essentially what they're getting at. So I don't know. I think I don't really, this Senator Loomis, obviously she's loved by the Bitcoiners. But yeah, she seems to be all about like aligning with KYC, AML, and all this stuff. So are Bitcoiners speaking out against that, or they just don't care? I don't know. I'm not following it too closely. I met her at a Bitcoin conference in, it was the first big one after COVID. I guess that was 2021. And I tried to get her to talk about Monero, but she didn't want to. She ran away. I had the mic out trying to film her. She didn't want to make any comment on it.
Boo, scary privacy. No, get away from me.
Yeah. But is she getting like the Bitcoiners just love her, right? Like I'm pretty sure.
She was at PubKey recently and she signed the wall and all that stuff.
I mean, like she's very much all for KYC, AML. She's like, stable coins are great as long as, people don't use them to fund terrorism or do bad things with them. So we'll have to have protections in place. Basically saying, they need to be surveillable. Everybody seems to be okay with that in Bitcoin.
Yeah, maybe one day will come a time where when people stop with the meme coins and all these things, and all the capital is just gonna go into Monero instead of being dispersed in so many stuff, claiming to be the next dollar or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we talked about Bybit last week, how the North Korean hackers stole a lot of money. And they said we're starting to see some funds being moved to chainflip.io as bridge to convert to Bitcoin. Then we have Alex B retweeting it. And he said, Monero and privacy coin shields unusually quiet whenever large crypto keys inevitably turn to the most liquid asset on the planet to evade censorship risks. There's no second best. God, wow, I can't believe it's 2025. And I still see stuff like this, but whatever. But I like what Bawdy said. Bawdy said, even if they were converting to Monero, I don't expect the lamestream crypto cabal and news apparatus to report it. Yeah. No. They barely want to say the Monero word. It's like forbidden. But it's very interesting. So somebody said, Techno Revenant, they've been buying XMR and Bitcoin on EXCH. Most of the recent 10 plus ETH deposits into EXCH address trace back to the Bybit hacker, and EXCH's XMR reserve is running low. That's what this person said. But somebody else said that they usually don't have much Monero, on average less than 4K. But yeah, and here's a picture. Just that they have a lot. I guess it's a lot, yeah, of Ethereum, and they did swap it. So yeah.
Wait, go back to the previous screenshot real quick, actually. What's this pointing out exactly? The reserves? Oh, they suddenly had only 34 XMR reserves and like a shit ton of Ethereum. That's, I guess, what it's pointing out.
Yeah, and I guess that they had a lot more Bitcoin and a lot more XMR. So now they have less of, because they wanted to just dump their Ethereum on them. And that's another screenshot of all the transactions, which are very close in time. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but EXCH was refusing to work with Tether to block and censor swaps. They were refusing to work with them, and they were letting them go through, which is very interesting. Citing that Tether had not, I guess, helped them with stuff before, or like there was like a bad relationship between them. Or was it USDC? I don't remember. But there was some particular entity was asking them to censor transactions because a lot of swaps were doing it, right? A lot of swaps were taking part in censoring. So like all the main ones like Change Now, the ones that have the AML checks, all that stuff, they were censoring transactions. But EXCH was like, nah, we're not doing it. They just
that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Okay, now I'm going to mention this a little bit. So Rucknium has published OSPPAD findings showing through his analysis that Monero's effective ring signature size is only 4.2. And I'm going to read this whole thing because it's important. So the result summary, and then we have 2 more videos, and that's it, guys. But the result summary. So at current Monero ring size of 16, the theoretical minimum attack success through completely random guessing would be 1/16, 6.25%. But he discovered that this corresponds, to an effective ring size of 4.2. He explained all kinds of stuff. The attack success probability prior to August 2022 may be higher, but this was not measured due to time constraints. And so I mean, lastly, he said Monero's next hard fork is expected to deploy full chain membership proofs, which will eliminate the on-chain ring signature privacy model. So the next hard fork is going to be huge, huge change. And we talked about it, I think, 1 or 2 episodes ago.
I actually brought up the OSPAD briefly last week during the stage segment. And I hadn't read through it was Rucknium's work. I hadn't read through all of it yet. It's obviously not ideal, but also, I mean, these kinds of things have been like somewhat known and theorized. It's like, yeah, eventually you'll be able to reduce the effective ring signature size by analyzing various things like the decoy selection algorithm, which has had to be changed many times already. But FCMP++ will completely void all of this for the most part. So,
yeah, I can't wait. Especially how Monero takes the negative, or takes the weaknesses, I should say, and then just turns them into strength with the next hard forks. So,
I think you can churn funds to give yourself a higher anonymity set. So if you send to yourself in various ways, you can potentially reduce the effectiveness of utilizing this type of analysis. But once FCMP++ is out, once again, it's not going to matter. It's not going to mean anything. But in the meantime, churning your funds should help. It's literally just sending your funds back to yourself multiple times. And also creates change. So if you like to spend a lot in rapid succession, you won't have to wait as much.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about the last 2 things. So we kind of talked about the Trump Gaza in the beginning, but I guess let's play the video
this
first.
Fucking video.
Yeah, let's play it and let's see what this guy had to say, and then we'll talk about it.
Tunnels coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I just wonder if somebody just typed one line of like one sentence and hey, I just create a video, and he said, oh cool, okay, this one is perfect, I just posted.
Those dancers, like towards the beginning of the video, have like they're dudes. They have beards.
Yeah. I had to go back. Unless that's what he wants, I don't know, whatever. Unless that's what he wants in Gaza, but
dude, Trump really is Netanyahu's bitch, man. It's crazy. Like the vibe when he's
that
talking,
video is demonic, man.
It's crazy. Like when you see him interact with other world leaders, there's like a certain level. It's like a different vibe there, right? Like he kind of has full control of the situation overall. Like with Putin's a little more powerful, especially when we just saw Zelensky. It's like Zelensky's like a little bitch. But with Netanyahu, dude, oh my word. He's like pulling out his chair, helping him out with anything. It's like crazy. Yeah, and it's not like that with anybody else.
Different.
With anyone else at all. It's only him.
It's pretty blatant.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of disgusting. This video.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It really is insane, and like people are okay with it, He's just showing. You know how he said like he could go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and nobody would care. This is that. He's like now we're gonna all do this.
The majority is actually against this. I think the majority of Americans are actually against the occupation of Gaza and the military occupation of Gaza from the U.S. and then also like this. So
yeah, but the Trump MAGA crowd, I don't.
They're all. I mean, all the
this,
the mainstream right Republicans are paid shills, and they all go along with this. But people who aren't like part of like people who might be MAGA but aren't directly like these high end connected paid shills, most of them are. A good portion of them are not for this and are actually quite much against this. So
crazy.
It's crazy, yeah.
Okay, let's play the last video, which is Moonboy, and then that'll be it.
I'm through with holding my bag, so runs I'm navigating. It's like a rat race with my wife's boyfriend, Jim. Scenes turning out just like she thought it would be. Want a brand new show on a YouTube channel in a comment section filled with view bot handles. X following bigger than 10 mil plus 3. Need a central exchange, it's got KYC, a public blockchain who needs privacy. They wanna join the crypto anarchists cause they're just creeps. Need a sub-cent coin, people think's a trap. Run a top 10 spot on CoinMarketCap. Somewhere between Doge or Ether's fine for me. Gonna quit McD's and exit the game. I'd even rub my bros and fork the chain. Cause we all just want a few big moon balls running, pumping dump scams that we can enjoy. The gates come easy, Dunning-Kruger comes cheap. We'll all stay winning till Kramer tweets, and we'll bypass the to buy. Once I finish my course that takes supply, every miss out the cent's gonna wind up there. Every ego thought it thinks she's rare, and well, hey, I wanna be a moon boy.
Amazing.
Hey, I wanna be a moon boy.
This guy's really good.
Dude, he's so good. The lyrics are amazing. Like, wow. Yeah, he's really good. This is the second song. We played his what was last week's?
It was the Zcash one.
Zcash, yeah.
We do get a super chat here from Nihilist Tip 123. Don't forget to show that meme. I sent you a link to this, Tony, if you want to pull that up.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay, I think this is original content from Untraceable.
Oh, okay. Always high quality stuff.
Yeah.
Back off! Simple as that!
He is the one.
No! I ain't never seen this in my life. Be cut ships on station ASAP. Predator ETA 2 minutes.
Wow, untraceable. Never fails to impress.
He always says very good memes.
That goes hard.
That was the strongest, best autism I've seen in like months, at least maybe a year or so.
That was like some quality 4chan like poll tier content right there.
That was a good video, yeah. Yeah, but this was this week's news section, guys. So give the show a like, share, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers,
Thank you so
man.
much, Tony.
Fantastic
Thank you,
job,
guys.
Tony.
Thank you, guys.
A lot of talent in the Monero community. All right. What do we got? What do we got? Viewers on stage?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump
Say,
into
anybody
viewers on
wanna come
stage.
on up.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
All right, bringing everyone up here.
I want to be a Moonboy.
It's a catchy song.
I've been shopping for a microphone and some sound foam because somebody listening was giving me shit about my $11 Walmart microphone. Fair
It's
enough.
not that bad. I mean, mine's not that great either. It's just this little. I need to get like a proper
Trust me,
microphone.
dude, compared to some people that have come on here, your microphone is fine.
Yeah, oh my word. There needs
I'm
to be
thinking
like
about making him pay for it though, because it's like, will you fucking buy it then?
Yeah, you don't like
This
it.
is a volunteer effort over here. Where's my community donation?
we were this close to implementing a minimum microphone quality requirement for viewers on stage. It was getting a little some people had some not even sure what you would call them.
Some pretty ghetto bullshit. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
By the way, there is a CCS that was it's in proposal stage right now for ACX Monfluo wallet. So go check that out. He's asking for 14 Monero to do 3 months worth of work, 9 hours a week. And
For
it's
what?
pretty it's a Monero wallet based off of Monerujo, but it's actually like developed, and it's not like
So it's just a fork of Monerujo.
yes, but it's actually in development, where Monerujo, like they seem to develop sometimes, and then they'll just go away for 6 months, and then they'll come back for like a week, and then they'll go away for 6 months. So Monfluo actually is in development.
Just use Cake Wallet, bro.
It's weird.
What do you use, Shortwave Surfer?
I use Monfluo and the Cake Wallet, but I've seen my mom uses Monero, and I have her using Monero.com, and she's been having a lot of issues with it. I've been seeing like a lot of errors with the daemon failing, and a lot of errors connecting to nodes, and just all kinds of things. It's like, Cake Wallet used to be more stable than this.
What node? Is it the default one?
Yeah. But she's been getting a lot of different errors. Can't communicate with the node, and can't communicate with daemon, and different things like that. It's like, what the heck is going on here?
Sounds like
That's really strange because my I have totally the opposite experience. Like every time somebody tells me, "Oh, I got into Monero," and if they're not using Cake Wallet, then they're having problems. But I don't think I've had anybody tell me they've had a problem with Cake Wallet.
I think.
But that said, I mean, Czech is finicky, and one of the reasons why, even though there are obviously advantages to like a focused project like Cake, one of the reasons I love when other wallets are being developed is sometimes just absolutely brilliant ideas come out of these other projects, and then they can be added into everybody. And like, I love the idea of the open source software wallet community, like taking different approaches to stuff, so you can actually see what works best, and then everybody can adopt them as they prove their merit. You know, we're pretty fortunate in that sense.
I think I'm gonna have her like uninstall the app, or at least reset it to factory defaults, like back up the seed, because we already have our seed and height backed up. So I think I might just have her like wipe the cache and everything, and wipe the storage and completely reset up Cake Wallet, because maybe that'll fix it. One other thing,
I don't know, man, but like whatever you run into, just make sure that you open a ticketed report, because if we don't see it, then we can't really do anything about it.
Will do. One other thing is on GitHub, I was looking at that new blog post, whoever you guys have putting out blog posts like emails and stuff like that, and they were talking about like the different app stores. You can get it on Obtainium or a Crescent or the Google Play Store or the Apple Store or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they did a really good job with that explanation, so congrats to them.
Yep, that was Henry.
Yeah, so he mentioned Obtainium, and I've used it in the past, but I decided to give it another try. And I've noticed that what happens is that in Obtainium, it says Monero.com version 1.20.2, and then if you click into it, it's like latest version 4.3 point whatever. So it's getting the actual like Cake Wallet version and not the Monero.com, because they're in the same repository. So I'm wondering if it might be worth switching Monero.com into its own repository. So like Cake Tech Monero.com instead of Cake Tech Cake Wallet. Because it says version 1.20.2 installed, version 4.23.2 latest.
Must be conflicting because the APKs are released on the same.
That's my guess.
Under the same release stuff, yeah. Potentially. I don't think I've actually tried using Monero.com from Obtainium itself.
Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. We can move to a new repo. But Monero.com usage is incredibly low compared to Cake Wallet itself. So it's definitely like less ideal
like
if we have to do specific.
It's like all everybody I know uses is the Monero.com one.
Really?
And yet, I'm not even playing. Like,
I've onboarded a lot of people
uses.
to Monero.com one.
Yeah, but it's weird because
Monero.com.
I always do Cake because oftentimes
Vic then told me like he wants to push Cake, so I would push Cake. But
because the thing is, oftentimes like you get these users onto like in a Monero, but they're in crypto, and sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I want to have this coin and I want to be able to take this off the exchange. And since Cake,
I like getting them into Monero.com because it's less for a complete noob. It's less confusing because you're not dealing with multiple cryptos to select from. It's just open up the app. There's no select Monero.
Yeah, but it's only one. It's literally the difference is one.
Yeah, but when you're teaching somebody about crypto for the first time, and you just like kind of pitched them on the whole Monero thing, and then it's like, wait, what? What are all these other things?
That is literally exact. That's right. Exactly why I'm like, and the thing. But I realize that I'm like a very niche, like crypto sales guy, because I'm just pushing the one thing. Like I don't, and the thing is I have this like narrow window of people that they don't give they don't care, let's say, about crypto itself. They care about, I want a privacy cache, right? Like that's that, and you're the same way. But the thing is like everything out of the way is good. Like they have no interest in swapping coins. They have no interest.
Well, listen, from a Monero Maxi perspective, I even from that perspective, I do Cake Wallet because oftentimes people then ask me, okay, how do I buy this? In the US, there's no option within Cake itself to buy it. So I'm like, hey, you can buy Litecoin, move it into Cake Wallet, and swap to Monero, and that like saves like multiple steps of having to do it outside of Cake itself. And it's just easier.
Monero.com has the exchange.
Yeah, you can, but you have to swap it directly from your exchange. You can't pull it off first. And then
what I do.
You're absolutely right, Tux. I completely.
Wait,
you can buy Litecoin. You can buy Litecoin directly in Cake Wallet too. That's the point. So you can buy Litecoin directly in Cake Wallet and then swap it to Monero. You don't even have to use an external exchange. So
no, both are ideal, right? But because of what you're saying, like even on that level, and I mean, you've had the luxury of actually like seeing and talking to some of these people, like while I was doing it, but. The thing is most of them, if you add any step that involves any other coin or any bank account or anything, they're just out. So usually they'll just ask me to do it. And then they'll want, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yep, that same thing for me.
I love Cake Wallet, but Monero.com wallet is a very valuable thing. And the other thing is there's in the minds of like pre-internet generation people, the person who has like Monero.com, that's Monero. You see what like there's this whole marketing like trustworthiness thing that comes along with the fact that they think of it like, oh, this must be the most
Monero wallet
thing, which is sad that that's the case. But the thing is it is, and the fact that Cake has that is like even better in my mind.
Tux, I just want to clear stuff. What currently is the best way to obtain Monero on Cake Wallet? From cash in your bank account for like a noob, they want like the closest thing to the Coinbase experience. What's currently the best way for somebody like that?
If you're in the United States, it would be to buy Litecoin, and then swap directly in Cake. That would be it. But if you're in Europe and
how can you currently buy so how do you currently buy Litecoin on Cake? What's the best way to do that now?
Just create a Litecoin wallet. Then you open the buy sell menu, which recently got renamed to exchange. So you open the exchange menu, and then you can put in the US dollar amount you want, and it'll give you a lot of options. You've got like 10 options, I think, to buy from Litecoin. It's quite a lot. So you can choose the specific provider. You can see their rates, and a lot of these also let you connect your bank account directly to whatever service it is. So I think that solves.
And Monero, you can't yet buy in that fashion. In the US.
Bawdyanarchist actually has Monero, but the rates are awful, like terrible. You're paying like 10-15% extra.
And that's not in New York still, even, right? Or that is.
I don't know. It might be. You'd have to check. Yeah. But if you're in the European Economic Region, so if you're in like most EU countries, you can actually use dfx.swiss, which is built in to Cake Wallet. It'll probably be the only option, but you can spend up to 990-ish euros per 24 hours.
That's not in the US.
Not in the US, no. They had some plans of them coming to the US. Not sure if that will happen. But if you are in Europe, that is the best way to do it, and that way you can buy Monero directly.
So the way I've onboarded people is I have them download Monero.com and get it set up, and obviously tell them this seed, write it down. Make sure you write down your seed. But when they get into the thing where it says 0.000 XMR, I say, okay, now hand me a $20 bill. And
anytime I onboard somebody, I always give them a little bit so I can show them how it works.
I'm like, here, hand me a 20. I'll send you a 20. I'll send you 20 in Monero, and we'll call it good.
Yeah.
Like anytime you need to buy some, just let me know and I'll do it for you. No problem.
So the other thing, as you can see from my this week handle, I would like to. So there are several people who produce things, whether using Tallow or have Tallow in my area, and they want to make it available on XMR Bazaar.
Nice.
But they are a little more skittish than I am about the quality of their product. I think it's amazing. I mean, it's like eggshell white good stuff in my opinion. But I was thinking about sending it to you guys and then using it to give the broader farmers market industry up here a taste of what it is to buy, sell, trade, and so on in Monero. So you guys were saying that you would be interested. I'll send it to you. I don't actually know how to send stuff to you guys, allegedly, but give it a try. See what you guys think, and then for the viewing audience, The supply is as such where there will be a tallow shill. My wife will be handling it for now, but the idea is that the actual farmers market individuals can handle it on their own. But I'm kind of showing them how it works and showing them the results and so on. But it is now a thing, and it's not the only thing. And we're exploring other options too. And the idea is like having places you can stay up here, having cars that you can rent and so on. I actually I put a Monero vanity license plate on a car that you should be able to rent for Monero if you come to Alaska. So you come up here and you can get a rental with Monero plates. It should be pretty cool, but I only have like 4 hours a week to work on it every week, so it's moving at a snail's pace. But I think now that I'm so close to the end of it, I'll probably put more effort into it.
So you're telling me I'll be able to buy some grass-fed Alaskan beef tallow with that Monero?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Well, I was thinking about having the two of you guys just be like the product samplers. So you can decide whether or not you think it meets the standard.
I'm sure it's good, man. Just put it up on XMR Bazaar. I'll buy it from you.
I've been using it forever, so like it's. I mean, it's.
Is there a concern with like shipping and stuff?
I mean, as far as I can tell, everything is legal, and if it's not, they need to come tell me. But
dude, we had eggs we may or may not have had eggs being shipped through the mail. Pasture raised eggs with the bloom fully intact.
Amazing.
It's easier to just send it and then ask for forgiveness later, you know, like
we have the packaging for that for anybody who may want to ship something that's similar to an egg.
The thing is I live in a different world where like outside is like out there, you know, like in Alaska, it's just like outsiders is anybody more than, 50 miles from the Alaska.
He's talking
border.
about us.
Yeah, they're outside is how they call it. It's this vast untamed wilderness that just goes on forever and ever. And like you could live your whole life on the road in Alaska and never leave it. You know, like it's just huge. And like the minute that they start engaging with like the outside culture, they just like freak out. They're just like, what are these people are weird. It's like, well, they think you're weird. So just, don't worry about it. Like
Tux, you made a mistake earlier. You quoted the wrong price when you were paying when you said what you paid for your steak fries or your steak and shake fries. You didn't say 16. You didn't say 16.6 Monero.
But I didn't pay in Monero.
Blasphemy.
You still don't quote dollar prices on Monerotopia.
If they took Monero, then yeah, I would definitely.
They do take Monero, sir. You can get an Uber Eats gift card on Cake Wallet, and then you can use Uber Eats to buy Steak and Shake. So shush.
He's right.
Oh, really? I actually didn't know we had Steak and Shake as a. Okay, well, thanks for advertising CakePay. Then you can buy a Steak and Shake gift card with Monero on CakePay. Now you're not directly paying them with Monero, of course.
I don't know if you can buy an actual Steak and Shake gift card, but you can buy an Uber Eats gift card, and Uber Eats does indeed have Steak and Shake.
Okay, well, I will look right now. Let's see.
We have Testy Tip 50 cents. Where can we submit info on Monero Noto? Was doing some tests and wanted to give feedback. You can reach out to Abdullah. I'll drop an email address here. Moneronoto@protonmail.com, or you can put it in the Monero Noto chat on Matrix. Or you can try to DM the Monero Noto account on X, or email that. Send us an email, moneronoto@protonmail.com. Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's been pretty wild how quick he gets back to people, too.
Yeah, he's doing
I mean, especially like they're coming from all different time zones, and he's still like just constantly on it. And it's like, do you sleep, homie? Like, what is your schedule?
I know. It's very impressive.
It's like
I gotta have a serious. I haven't touched base with them in like 2 weeks. We haven't had a good sit down. But yeah, things are moving along in Noto land.
Confirmed. We do have a Steak and Shake gift card at Cake Bay.
All right. See, there you go. Right there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, how did you miss that, Tux?
So you can pay for your Steak and Shake tallow fries with Monero. So do it next time.
It'd be almost a full-time job to just keep up with all the shit you can do with Cake Pay. Like I've never looked proactively. Every time it's always just like, I've been there and I was like, I'm going to use that. And it's always there. Like there's always some kind of option.
Well, it used to be a lot better. If you remember, you used to be able to buy cards directly in the app and then get a QR barcode in the app itself. Now I can't say anything specific, but it is about to get a lot better again very soon.
All right.
So it's a constant battle, like just trying to keep, trying to have one foot in the system and 1 foot out of the system.
It really is. There's been a lot more scrutiny over the year. Like there used to be so many providers that would give you cards directly, but it's become a lot harder. But there's some potential solutions that are coming up, so it'll probably get, fingers crossed, it'll get a lot better very soon. We might have some new features within the app itself, because right now the redemption process kind of sucks. You have to go through you have to open an email, open a link, put in a code, blah blah blah. We're hoping to be able to not have to do all that, but we'll see.
As far as KISS wallets, the keep it simple, stupid wallets, Monoflujo is actually really simple, because it literally is open your wallet, see a list of transactions, send and receive. It has a couple of settings. It doesn't have exchanges. It doesn't have fiat conversions. It has nothing. It's pure Monero transactions, send and receive, and a couple of settings for your node, and that's about the extent of it.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
I want a pure, nothing else Monero wallet, and that's what this is.
I want both. I always want both.
We were thinking of a Nodo wallet. We were discussing that if that would perhaps lead to a nice product.
Too much scope creep. You just got to find somebody who will continue their development on Nodo in their own wallet.
Take a look at Monflujo, Monfluo, Monfluo. If you remember MySU, MYSU from last 2023, it's basically a updated version of that, because the developer kind of abandoned it or whatever, and it was gone for 8 months, and we found the code and revived it.
You can always just use Cake Wallet. Works on Linux.
Yeah, this is mobile only.
Yeah, see, the Nodo is it's running desktop Linux.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about a mobile app specifically to pair with your Nodo. Okay, never mind. My bad.
XMR Cash tip 50 cents. What kind of Monero payment interface should be used for store at the point of sale? Where can I go to learn more about this? I want to onboard a local store to start using XMR's payment, and then also get them listed on XMR Bazaar. So listed on XMR Bazaar, super easy. Just create a free account. You can have them do it. They create a free account, and they could just make a business listing to list their business, and they'll be thrown up on the map. The POS question, a little more complicated. There's different options. I mean, I guess BTC Pay Server, right, would be what people would say would be the premier way to do it right now. Obviously, just using Cake Wallet. I don't know what their situation is
for in-store. I would honestly for most cases, if we're talking about in person, I would probably recommend them just install Cake Wallet. There's some new solutions that are being worked on, but they're still not fully ready yet, like XMRPOS, which does require a device, a new device to use. Well, actually, no, you could use XMRPOS on a phone, but you won't have necessarily all the features with it. But XMRPOS requires running a Monero Pay server somewhere, so that requires a backend. BTC Pay Server obviously requires a backend. For most use cases in person, where it's okay, maybe you'll have a couple every now and then, right? Transactions. I do just recommend Cake Wallet. It is just easy.
Yeah, I would think the easiest way for stores right now is just they have their POS system, and then just accept Monero on their phone, and then in their POS system just note it as cash received. I mean,
and to avoid the problem with the person with the Cake Wallet not being there, what you could obviously do is set up a view only wallet for your store employees, And if nothing else, you could like print a QR code, like print a Monero QR code and put it on your register or whatever, so that people could just scan the QR code and the cashier at the time could open their view-only Cake wallet and see that the payment was received, mark it as cash received in their POS, just like you mentioned. And then the store owner has the Cake wallet with the spin keys and everything. But that way the employees can actually take the payment without the store owner being there. Because like that person, that store in the story you mentioned there, Doug, seems like the only time you can spend Monero there is if you text the person or call them ahead of time to get them to come. And that's kind of a pain.
Yeah, no, we got to solve that. Like I've always said, the holy grail is integrating it into an existing POS system, right? Like Square and these other big ones that people use. I think there's I mean, they have APIs, right? I think there should be a way to make that bridge. Nobody's figured it out yet. Really, just nobody's really worked on it. But that is the holy grail, right? If people with existing popular POS systems can easily add a way to accept Monero payments,
that actually would be something to look into, because a lot of people do use Square with like the iPad, and there is an app marketplace. I don't know how open that app marketplace is, but presumably it would be possible to. I mean, you have WooCommerce plugin, and WooCommerce does have some crypto integration, so theoretically it might already be possible. But then it might be able to. There's a possibility someone could create something like native for it. But once again, I don't know how. Square is pretty like up there in terms of the financial companies, so I don't know how open their platform is.
Well, I mean, if I were Square, this is just how I would look at it, which is Monero stands to cut into a tremendous amount of profits for both their overlords at MasterCard and Visa, and then also their kickbacks. And the idea of Monero becoming more usable is pretty much a death sentence to those people. Because it would be an inevitability, like the saving that kind of money and having that kind of transactional and border freedom. The fact that the government would probably freak out aside, that would be a horrifying proposition to somebody like Square for Monero to take off. Or maybe they've already got their rich people money and they don't care and they want to use Monero so they don't get murdered by transaction fees and stuff. I guess it could go both ways, but as far as adoption goes, yeah, of course, integrating with existing systems is a great way to improve adoption. But I think the marketing has to lead. Like, you have to have more people that know about Monero and want to use Monero in order to create the kind of pressure that would be necessary to push for more development on integration. But on the flip side, I think that should we enter a situation where the system itself, how it kind of ebbs and flows, people like rejecting the system, and so they put their Elons and their Trumps out there to be like, no, we're just like you. You want to stay in the system because you're totally winning now and you're taking over. So just stay in the system. Don't make me tap the sign. But for those of you who don't know about the sign tapping meme, I'm just going to leave it there. Do your homework, but learn about sign tapping because it's very important for you to know about sign tapping. Just go out there onto the internet, find out about the sign tapping meme, because I'm not going to talk about it here. But the underlying premise is they always have to try to keep the hamster on the wheel. So they'll back off and be like, no, things are getting better now. Don't exit and build, even though that's clearly the winning strategy, because it's a winner take all strategy. You exit and build, the whole thing is yours.
This is literally like the perfect example of this entire administration. That's what it was. It was like, oh, we went a little too far. Let's give some superheroes for a little while so people will back off. And
it gives you 4 years of normalcy bias, where it's like, well, we were fighting it, but we didn't win over here. And so now those are normal. And that's the expectation. And actually, in my opinion, Tux, here is the number one perfect example where they fine-tuned the system and why they know it works. So I know I've mentioned it before, but for those of you who don't know, Ronald Reagan ran on the platform of abolishing the brand new Department of Education. Okay, the Department of Education was fresh out the gates. And I mean, he was saying some pretty volatile stuff for the time. Like I think one time he said we need to strangle this baby in the crib or something. Like it back then, saying something like that was like, whoa, you know, like. And he's like, we have to kill it before it turns into, well, the Department of Education like we have now. You know, I mean, it's like the 200th most well-equipped military in the world is like all the guns the Department of Education has.
The Department of Indoctrination.
Yeah, but the thing is, and then he'll give you all of these other wins, like, oh, the economy's improving, you know, and then pretend to fight it over and over again. Like, we're gonna see what we can do. We'll trim around the edges on the Department of Education. Give it 4 years, and the people are like, well, of course the federal government runs the education in the United States. Why would it be any different? It's like, but bro, 5 years ago, this wasn't even a thing. Like 5 years ago, like the counties in the states had these tiny little like requirements on otherwise just an open system of education. Nobody was forced to do anything. And then you give it 4 years, and Trump, we'll call them, you know, the sign tappers, right? The like the Trump Elon situation, whether or not they mean to be involved in it, you know, which they almost certainly do. But like the breathing room alone that the people are being given right now is to allow it to become normal. The tyranny that has been entrenched in the last 6 years.
Yeah,
it
I mean, then like
normal for people to murder people all across the country, force injections, all this other stuff, and nobody goes to jail. Nothing is it. And one of the things that really freaks me out about Doge, and I hope that you guys are seeing this because I'm certainly seeing this. It's like, okay, yeah, all of the corruption is confirmed, and we're going to trim around the edges to make it stop, but it happened, and nobody's going to jail. Okay.
And I mean, like at the end of Reagan anyway, it's like he ended up like tripling the national debt. Like the illusion of, or we're cutting all this stuff. And then at the end, it's like, okay, not really. That's what's going to happen this time with Doge. It's going to be, oh yeah, we're going to trim around some edges a little bit, you know, kind of make it look like there's this massive crackdown on government spending. But then they're going to continue passing bills to raise the deficit and, you know, allocate more towards military and defense. And, you know, we're going to give more arms deals to Israel, whatever.
Didn't they already raise the debt ceiling from 36 to 40 trillion? I think I heard that anyway.
Does anyone care anymore? I mean, no, I'm dead serious. Like,
it's true.
Is there any reason to even pay attention to that anymore? And
yes,
that's a legitimate question because
they're just pumping my bags at this point.
I was just gonna say because it's pumping our bags. That's why.
No, that's the thing is you don't have to look. It's just gonna keep going. Okay, it might go faster, it might go slower. You might want to check in to see if something is a good investment now or not. But like in my opinion, you should take the Bawdy approach where it's like, okay, let's see how bad the inevitability is at this moment for the purposes of making this trade, and then just move on, because it's like it is a mathematically functionally bankrupt system no matter what. Like it's completely fucked. It's never going to change. And so it's like, over the next week, are they planning to pump my bags harder or not as hard? That's all you really need to know, because it's going to be 50 trillion, 90 trillion. It's never going to stop. They can't turn it around. You know, like, I mean, these people have come up with schemes undreamed of to keep the Ponzi scheme going, and they certainly will. And the sheep are so well conditioned into just be like, oh, I got $1 raise and my buying power went down by 4, and that's just the new normal, and I'm just going to accept it, tap the sign. But like the reality is we cannot get complacent on the idea that they're going to fix anything. But what it also means is the trend is now going back towards people are just going to get back into being comfortable with the system. And then when they want to cram more tyranny down your throat, is the time to focus on exit and build, because all of a sudden the sheep are like, yeah, we need to do something about this. It's like, here, let me show you how a Monero wallet works and all this other stuff. And then they'll bring their new sign tapper in and they'll be like, oh, no, it's cool now. We're fixing it. and then that'll wind back and you work on integration within the system because that's where the tide goes. And then you wait another 4 years and they'll be like, oh, World War III is right around the corner again for the 912th millionth time. You know, like but they'll just keep rinse and repeat straight into the tyranny death spiral. So you have to make as much progress as you can on the exit and build strategy when you have the opportunity, which that ship, at least for now, is kind of sailing. However, I will say this. I am optimistic about the fact that people did get more heated than I think was meant to be the case about how bad the corruption is. So when they're seeing like, oh, you know, Doge did, and that's also why I think they pulled back a little bit. Right? Like Doge is now like, oh, they spent too much money on like toilet seats instead of like, oh, they were selling tranny children to, you know, Arabian sheiks or whatever. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention, but like, I think they're pulling back on like the rage bait a little bit because it's making people just want to give up entirely. Like, look at how many people are talking about not paying taxes anymore. And I think that was like, oh, whoa, hold on now. And so they pivoted to like, oh, we lost, you know, $3,000 over here instead of like $29 million went to this absolute abomination or this atrocity over here or whatever. They've definitely like tamed it down a little bit.
By the way,
yeah, let me read this. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm just gonna read the super chat.
Oh, go ahead. Read the super chat first.
XMR Cash tip 50 cents. The store self-checkout based on honor system. My brother, where do you live? You gotta have like really high trust society for that. There is no person present.
High trust society.
Alaska, possibly. Basically, the customer scans the item at the PC terminal and then sticks the CR card in the card reader to pay. What's the CR card? I think they are a perfect candidate for XMR. I don't know what the CR card is.
Yeah, I don't know what society he lives in, but it's definitely not America.
Well, if you live in New England area above New York, it's pretty high trust. And I'm sure Alaska is also pretty high trust. And I think Alaska may have some reasons for that.
It's so hard to keep my mouth shut right now.
And what I was going to say earlier before the super chat was, if you need it, there is now shaving cream available on XMR Bazaar.
From Shortwave Surfer, or?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
XMR Cash, I just want to point out real quick, like this use case is definitely different than like your standard use case. And I think you're onto something about it being ideal for Monero. But I would go to the Monero community directly and just give more details because there are definitely solutions, and you seem to be right that this is the perfect candidate in your high trust society. Tap sign. That this would be very interesting to see it move along, and but we would have to know more about like if there's anything we can do to help other than, because you're right, like there, you know, a wallet may not actually be the best answer in this case. And there's people who develop on this, like what is it called, Monero Pay server or whatever, you know, those Northern European, those two Northern Europeans that built.
Yeah, like also I have to say they're working on integrating Monero Pay, like a version of itself, into the XMR POS app, I think, so that it could be fully integrated into a system. Because the main problem right now is that there needs to be a server somewhere running something, right? Which makes the onboarding a lot harder and makes it a lot easier to run into issues. But I believe they're working on integrating it into the system itself. But at the moment, you still need a Monero Pay instance to use the XMR POS app. And then if you want to use the XMR POS app with all its features, you need to buy one of those specific point of sales devices, which are nice. They're not too expensive, but it is something that has to be considered.
Their shaving cream is now in the stream private chat, so you can take a look at it.
Is it beef towel shaving cream?
I don't think so.
I don't even know if that's a thing.
I don't either.
It could be, but the thing is if it's cold, like if the ambient temperature is cold, it might gum up your razor. Now it'd have to be like Alaska cold, but Because if it's above 70 degrees, your face keeps it liquid on its own. And not
Hey
only
guys,
that,
looks like we got a Arctic Mine. Hey Arctic Mine, how's it going?
Hello there. So just got back from an Acapulco.
Ah, how was that?
Very interesting and a very interesting conference. Very well received. A lot of Monero supporters there. Very well received.
And you spoke there?
Yes, I did. Yes, I spoke. I gave a talk, and I participated in 2 panels.
Awesome.
Nice. That's amazing.
Very interesting community. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. There's some stuff that's a bit more, shall we say, on the implausible side. Yes, snake oil is probably a good term. Yeah, it's a bit of that. Yeah,
I was there years ago. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we saw Jeff Berwick's participation in Monerotopia. So anybody who experienced that, that's what's going on down there, right?
Well, there's also some interesting material there. There are some legitimate issues that have been raised. So you're going to have to sort of find the wheat from the chaff kind of thing.
And a lot of people, right? Thousands of people?
Not thousands. I'll say about this particular, they've dropped a bit. I would say about 100, something like that, or 100, somewhere in that kind of range.
Oh, really? That's it?
It wasn't a huge conference. But a very nice venue. Sort of a larger version of what we kind of experience in Mexico City, I would say. Mm-hmm. This Jardín Secreto, the secret garden in Acapulco.
It's a similar style.
Yeah, similar style, a bit of a maze to get around it.
And only 100 people? No.
I would say, no, it wasn't that huge. I don't think it was that big. I didn't get a feeling it was a massive thing. It was, I would say, in the hundreds, certainly not in the thousands.
And was it because they used to have like the crypto stage and then the regular stage? Was it all just one area, or were there multiple?
There was one stage, basically, and then a bunch of vendor areas in the area. They've lost attendance since COVID.
And I thought their attendance would have went up after they had that HBO special about them from. I don't know if you saw that.
But the attendance was, but it didn't get a feeling of a huge conference there. It was certainly on the smaller side. Definitely in the hundreds. I wouldn't put it in the thousands.
Okay.
So
cool though, cool. And what panels were you on?
Well, essentially the privacy crypto panel was one of them, and another panel also we were discussing privacy coins primarily, and sort of various issues of privacy coins and that kind of things.
So, I should announce, actually, let me bring that up. So Monero, obviously we're doing Monerotopia Pork Fest. By the way, Arctic, I don't know, I assume you're going to Prague, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes.
All right, so, but I don't know if you heard, we're doing a sister event at the same time, Monerotopia Pork Fest. Mostly because I won't be able to attend Prague this year. Pork Fest is happening at the same time. We teamed up with Aaron Day, and we're renting a large tent at PorkFest, so it should be cool. And we're hoping to stream the content from our conference to Prague and have Prague stream their content to us.
What about the time difference?
Well, time difference will work out well because, right, so when MoneroCon is at its peak and having the best talks, it'll be early morning over here, so we could just show their talks in the morning from whatever, 7 in the morning to 12 at noon, and then we could have our talks play, and then it'll be playing in the evening over there, right? So after hours, if people want to watch. Yeah, so it should be cool. And then we're doing Monerotopia next year in February, right before Anarcho-Poco.
And then there's another conference in between.
Yes, there's another conference. Derek Bros has his conference right before ours.
Oh, right before Monerotopia. Yeah. So it'd be
and then Monerotopia will be in the middle, and then after will be Anarcho-Poco. We actually moved. This is what I want to announce. We moved up Monerotopia 1 week, so we had it as the February 5th. We're now moving it up 1 week actually, because it just works out better for people that want to take off. Because a lot of people are off from a lot of kids are off from school that week in the U.S., so like families that want to come down. So we moved it between the 12th to the 15th of next year.
Good.
And so people could come, they could go to that, and then you could head straight to an Acapulco if they wanted to do that. It'd be the week following. So it's the,
that's kind of cool.
It's the week before everybody's off. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Acapulco is going to be moving away from Acapulco. It's going to be moving to Puerto Vallarta. That was one of the places they were talking about.
Okay.
So easier to get to, because Acapulco is kind of a painful place to get to, actually.
It is. It is a little off the radar. It's a little off the radar. It's an interesting place. Did you go into the city? Did you actually go into the city of Acapulco?
I didn't really. I mean, we came into the airport where I was put up in one of the condo / and then we were picked up by taxi back and forth. I did a lot of walking, some walking around the area. The venue was actually fairly close to where I was staying, so you could walk there. Acapulco went through a whole bunch of hurricanes.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage there, and so that was definitely very interesting to see. There was you could see a lot of damage in the city. But it's kind of a bit of an. I ended up flying actually from Vancouver to San Francisco to Houston to Acapulco. On the way back, it was Acapulco, Houston, Chicago, Vancouver. So it's kind of awkward to get there.
That's a big trip.
The connections from Mexico City weren't that great. I was like spending the whole night sort of at an airport there. And that didn't seem too good.
Well, next year it might make sense because you come to Monerotopia, you spend 4 days there, and then you leave from there to. Well, you said they're moving though to Puerto Vallarta.
I think they're talking about Puerto Vallarta was one of the places was chosen, and one of the reasons is connectivity for flights. There's direct flights from Vancouver to Puerto Vallarta, for example.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to get there.
Right.
And I think that was one of the concerns, but that was one of some discussion that was made about that. So that they were looking at a different venue, mainly for that reason.
Okay.
But a very interesting conference. Like if you know what to look for, there's some really interesting speakers there. You learn a lot. But yeah, I guess, you also have to be a bit selective. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
Well, what were some of the talks that you're a little more excited about? That maybe
there was a lot of healthcare stuff.
Okay.
There was a lot of truth, I think, with respect to the reality with the U.S. government. I thought that was really, the libertarian position is not as strong Republican as people think it is. There was a lot of questioning of the Trump administration, which I thought was really balanced, to be honest. That was, I thought, quite interesting. I liked a lot of the healthcare stuff, actually. There's a lot of interesting stuff in that angle that I found there. So, I mean, there's a lot of valid criticisms, and you got to know where you go. Areas such as what you drink and what you eat. I mean, McDonald's fries in the United States have 7 more ingredients than in Canada. And those 7 more ingredients are bad for you.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same corporation. That's like, wow.
Yes. There's McDonald's fries plus some poison.
Basically, I mean, like the difference. So that's. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it's a perfect example of that. So you do learn a lot of stuff, and then there's some weird stuff too, like flat Earth. Well, okay, that's a bit weird. And then you meet very interesting people.
I don't really understand that. Why that's such like a thing there? Yeah.
Yeah, that is a bit of a thing there. It's like a pancake, okay. Well, it was kind of weird, like an egg. That one was a weird one. That was the weird one. I must admit.
And then you have in terms of crypto, like a lot of them are into BSV, which I think is interesting. I don't know why that aligns with,
well, actually, there was a very strong support for Monero. There's been a major shift towards Monero there. There was a lot of, there were guys from Pirate Chain was sponsoring it, which was interesting.
Okay.
I actually, because there were a lot of the sort of other privacy coins. And then on the way back, I listened to the entire ebook, audiobook on Roger Bear's hijacking Bitcoin.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay, yeah. I was supposed to have Steve Patterson was supposed to come on the show yesterday, but he.
That was a very good book.
Yeah, I actually found it really, really interesting, except for the part where they try to convince you that you can grow your way out of security with just transaction fees. It does not work. I'm sorry. But the one criticism that I would have is when Roger Bear says, well, if you have Visa transaction rates of 1 cent per transaction, you get all this money. Turns out it's about $40,000. Way less than if Monero were to grow to that size. 20,000 times the adoption means 20,000 times the price, and then you're looking like $10 million in block rewards in the same period of time. So I think it really opened the eyes. It's a great book and explained the whole history of Bitcoin and everything. But I have a big issue with that consensus is, in fact, possible in Bitcoin. I've reached a conclusion, actually, after reading Roger Bear's book, that consensus is not possible in Bitcoin.
Consensus in terms of doing what needs to be done to scale on chain? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Because basically what it comes down to is that if you want to scale on chain, you have to put in a tail emission. That's been what I have learned in Monero.
Or demurrage, right? Or
well, demurrage was the same thing. I mean, you can if you want to keep the total supply constant, you can do it with demurrage. Which is 6 or 1 half a dozen of the other, but you're going to have to subsidize it by effectively taxing the block reward in some way, shape, or form. And I mean, so that's the argument. And then the second experience that I've had, of course, is that if you try to have transaction fees replace volume block rewards, your best bet is actually what small blockers have done. But it still doesn't work.
Do you think Bitcoin Cash will ever add a tail emission?
Actually, after being there, I think there's one of the biggest misconceptions on this is that the assumption that is made is that if you increase the money supply, you have inflation. This is actually not true. Because with the tail emission in Monero, if you're below the historical inflation, money supply growth, not inflation rate, money supply growth of gold, which is about 1%, a little over 1%, then of course you can slip in there and you're still you're still harder than Austria, actually, because if gold is Austrian, you have this growth in the money supply, which you can then use to create the tail emission. And there's a huge perception that if the minute you introduce any kind of growth in money supply, you introduce inflation, which is not strictly correct. And so it's seen as this is a major economic principle that we want to support. And the trouble you get into is, of course, is that Austrian economics does not say that you can't increase the money supply, because the history of gold is that money supply has been increasing over this millennia. I mean, the classic example is gold is still mined today after 5 millennia of use, at least. And yet the idea that Bitcoin was only supposed to be mined for like 130, 140 years, something like that, is a bit difficult to accept. So no, I think it's a big resistance to that. And that's where, and by the time it comes across, it's going to be too late for a lot of these coins.
Yeah, they'll never be able to get over the meme of 21 million only.
Yeah,
and then just also this idea that as people use Monero, there'll be lost coins, right? And the rate of lost coins will go up as more people use it to transact. I mean, that's
the analysis that Javier Smooth came up with, which was one of the initial core team members, Smooth, and then was very well explained by Peter Todd, is that you reach an equilibrium between lost coins and the tail emission. So effectively, you have a constant supply. I mean, that's the analysis of the lost coin analysis. And that's Peter Todd's basically article really explained it really well in a simple way. I mean, you could go more refined mathematical analysis and so on in that, but that's essentially the essence of his analysis. And that leads to a constant supply. And so effectively what you have with Bitcoin is a hyper-deflationary currency.
You think it's accurate? One of the arguments I always make is that Monero's supply schedule is more predictable and guaranteed than arguably something like Bitcoin's, because we've already added the tail emission. There'll be arguably no need to change Monero's supply curve in any way. And because it hasn't kicked the can down the road like Bitcoin and has already added tail emission, it's arguably has a more predictable supply curve.
Well, I mean, it's a legitimate argument. I mean, the changing the tail emission in Monero is no different than changing the 21 million in Bitcoin. It's a brutal change to the social covenant.
Right.
So you're essentially doing the same thing. The point is that you have a sustainable economic model for supporting the growth of the chain and for paying for miners, which you don't have in the case of Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV or any of these coins. And the idea that you can grow yourself out of it is a fallacy. And in fact, I mean, you can even argue that if you look at gold, for example, if you buy a gold coin, you're going to pay a small premium above the price of gold for that gold coin to take into account the cost of minting the coin and the cost of distributing it and so on. So it's the same argument. There has to be some kind of seigniorage in order to have a cash-like transaction. But realistically, in Monero, the fees are basically spam deterrents. They're not really supporting the miners. So that's but it's such a departure because pretty well it's so ingrained, and this is why I think this is going to be difficult. If I was going to give one coin a hope in the so-called falling block rules is Dash, simply because their emission curve is so slow that all the other falling block rules coins will have gone to oblivion, Dash will still be kicking. I mean, it's essentially maybe they might learn the lesson by that point in time. But I mean, you know, the folks at Pirate Chain, and as we put up an active block size, and I told them flat out, I said, look, you know, get rid of your falling block rules, go to they've got a really fast emission curve. And then, yeah, it's easy to do, but you can't do it without it. So it's the same thing. I mean, Pirate Chain was actually a sponsor at Acapulco.
What do you think?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea that that since the Monero supply was pretty rapid to get the entire supply out before the tail emission, that the idea that exchanges or whales or whoever, like the U.S. government, has bought up Monero and is purposely trying to suppress the market cap to keep people away from it because they see, oh, no gains, so they just leave it alone?
Well, if they already hold it, why would they want to suppress it?
I mean, they do it to gold. They do it to other things that they don't want people to use because they want people to stay in the U.S. dollar system or whatever. So why wouldn't they try to do that with Monero? They'd just buy up a bunch of it.
They could, but the thing about it is Monero is sort of out of the limelight to a large degree. I mean, you could argue very much that's the case with Bitcoin. But I think Monero is too much out of the limelight at this point. I mean, that's been our big advantage. I like to see Monero as the cloaked elephant in the ring. The ring being where the big blockers and the small blockers in Bitcoin are duking it out. I mean, you can come up with a lot of theories of governments trying to suppress it by causing it to crash, by manipulating the price. This whole thing about blockchain surveillance, I mean, that's how it's being suppressed on the exchanges, just because of blockchain surveillance. But I see that as more the case of the blockchain surveillance companies themselves seeing Monero as a threat as opposed to the U.S. government, although the U.S. government contractors.
You don't think it was slightly odd that the U.S. government used to continually mention Monero? I remember reading all of this stuff back in 2018, 19, 2020, and they would regularly mention Monero. It was actually the number 2 coin mentioned after Bitcoin. And then they mysteriously stopped reporting on Monero, even though they would issue entire 100-page reports on darknet activity, and then they just removed Monero completely from their reference. Like, you don't think
that's intentional, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't. I mean, I have a real wait and see attitude to what the U.S. government's going to do vis-a-vis crypto in the Trump administration. There's no doubt in my mind that there was massive suppression, largely because of the blockchain surveillance companies selling to the government that the only way you could do anti-money laundering and KYC and all that kind of stuff on cryptocurrencies by surveilling the blockchain. That is definitely an issue. But I'm not sure. I mean, realistically, the only coin that poses a realistic challenge to the fiat banking system on transactions is Monero. I mean, there's just no two bones about it. So if you're really long, that makes sense. I mean, in 2018, 2017, I mean, at that point in time, Monero was way higher up in coin market cap than it is right now. It was still, it was in the mid-20s. Well, I mean, what's happened is there's so many more coins, so it's not necessarily. It's just a question of it was much more visible, and that's a bit more worried. But what I'll see happening is that Monero, particularly in a bear market, will start to climb in coin market cap and rankings. There's already number 28, something like that.
I do see a bit of a chicken and egg problem there, where it's like, is Monero more obscure relative to other coins because it was suppressed, or is it is it obscure just because there's other coins out there?
Well, it's a bit of both. I mean, obviously, what we've seen in Monero is a suppression of the price because of blockchain surveillance, counteracted by an organic growth in peer-to-peer transactions, which is kind of make it look like a stable coin, although it's starting to break out from that. So that, I think, is a phenomenon that is sustained for the last 3 years, where you had this sort of dynamic balance between the two, the delistings on one side and the organic growth on the other. What is interesting about Monero is that because it's been sort of out of the limelight, it's gotten a lot stronger in the sort of in the shadows, and that's a good thing in many ways, because a lot of stuff has been done in Monero to really make it a much more viable peer-to-peer cash than it was, say, even 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. That there's this blessing in disguise that happened, that Monero didn't get such massive adoption and limelight, and it has enabled the fixing of a lot of the problems in the chain. Obviously, like full chain membership proofs. Maybe that wouldn't have happened with a higher market cap.
That's an example. I will say the refinements in scaling. I mean, right now we're at the point where I could say scaling is good enough, although I'm proposing changes to it. Which are improvements. But after the proposal by Koi, where with respect to fee stabilization, that really improved scaling in a big way in Monero. So that was a major change, and this with the long-term median. So that really did make a big difference. Once we got that sorted out, so that was a big improvement. And it's allowed a lot of the privacy forks that have led to full chain membership proofs, for example. So it's kind of a lot more stronger coin than it was, say, even a few years ago. So being out of the limelight, I think, has been a good thing for Monero in that respect. So
I didn't realize it was that highly rated on CoinMarketCap because I look at CoinGecko most of all. So it was like 33. And I didn't realize it was 28 on
CoinGecko includes wrapped tokens in there. That's why you see a lower market cap ranking. So they include, now, of course, if you look at the privacy dominance, about 60% or 62% on CoinGecko, although nobody looks at it anymore. But there's way too much other stuff in there. If you actually look at the traditional proof of work coins on CoinGecko, Monero is actually number 5. You got Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Monero. So it's right up there. And, right now we're trading very low with respect to Bitcoin, something like 0.0025, somewhere around there. So that's on the low side. In 2018, I think peaked around 0.036, so like about 15, 16 times the amount. So
it was a pretty interesting reveal by Howard that Bitmain, or that let's just say some entity had been consuming a significant portion of the hash rate, like 10 or 15%, for like 2 years before Bitmain ever released their Monero miner. I think that speaks a lot to stuff that's happening in the background potentially.
Well, I mean, Bitmain. I mean, I remember the whole fork. It was more than that. They were close to 80 or 90% of the 80% of the hash rate when the fork went through. The drop when they got forked out, the drop in the hash rate for Monero was drastic. It was closer to, I think it was something about 80%.
Yeah, so they've clearly been trying to sort of get into the capture of Monero supply. I mean, to put it a little bit hyperbolically, but yeah, they've clearly been trying to enter the Monero mining market for years, before RandomX.
Oh yeah, I mean, they basically tried, and then they basically did it in a sort of underhanded way, and then they got caught, and then we had Monero Original or Monero Classic, whatever you want to call it, and about 70%, I would say 60-70% of Monero community just ignored it. And there was another small portion of the Monero community. I count myself among those people who decided that we needed to split it off and dump it, literally. And you could only do this in hit BTC. And, it was quite interesting. 2018 was very interesting in that respect.
Yeah, I find that's pretty cool that Monero, like, they identified this ability to disrupt communities by creating these forks to make them less effective, divide and conquer, if you will. And Monero kind of shrugged it off, because I think it was a little bit before my time, before I arrived at Monero, but it seemed like Monero overall, like, everyone eventually just said, okay, it doesn't matter.
Well, what actually happened is that Monero forked, and what Bitmain did is they tried to stay on the old chain. So what they did is they kept supporting the old Monero chain. They called it Monero Classic or Monero Original. And then what they did is they propped it up with Bitcoin and hit BTC. Literally, they put a few $1 million worth of Bitcoin to try to prop this thing up. And that invited certain bears on the thing who decided to literally dump the stuff. And that was one of them. I mean, no heroes that I extracted my Monero Original and went ahead on a bear raid on it on hit BTC. I did that. And it was quite fascinating. Some of the people that were trading, they didn't understand the whole history. They said they'd never seen a coin being attacked like that. But literally, and I was not the only one. There were other members of the community that did this.
Bro, that's hilarious. They just provided you with free liquidity. It was like free money, because everyone was
literally free money.
So everyone was like, yes, we're going to upgrade, or most people were like, let's upgrade the chain. And then so they tried to, like, basically buy a division, purchase a division in the Monero community, and then the Monero community just used them for liquidity. Like, how rare is it that these market maker types just get totally owned like that?
Majority of the Monero community didn't participate. It was a minority. I would say about 30% of the Monero community that played this game. I happened to be in that minority.
I mean, by majority, I mean that most people went with the upgrade and sort of ignored Bitmain or ignored the attempt to do Monero Classic, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And then some minority like yourself capitalized on that free liquidity that they just handed you on a golden platter. Like, that's great.
Basically, I mean, that's exactly it. And what was interesting about it, I mean, is that if you actually looked at the longest chain win, no, this was not the longest chain. What you had is that the economic, the developers, the exchanges, everybody else went and supported the new chain. And the original chain was about, even though it had the longest chain, strictly speaking, because they were mining with ASICs, was supported. And then when that kind of died, then they tried to mine Bitcoin. It was quite an interesting scenario.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you not supposed to do that because it can, like, give away your not UTXOs, but like your basically e-notes or whatever? It can, like, give away your privacy or break it.
Well, you have to do two things. First of all, at the time, you didn't have a fixed ring size. So the way you could do it is by having a very large ring size when you did the split. I think I used to work about 20. So by the time you have the overlapping UTXOs for both chains, it was about 5 or 6, which was the ring size at the time. So you could actually address the ring size. The whole thing was a KYC attack. I mean, in the sense that I had a KYC would hit BTC, and that was a pretty arduous process. But I got through to it, so that's fine. I mean, to be blunt, I had a lawyer. I mean, I was living in Prince George, and I had a lawyer in Vancouver, which I still use. And if I needed to sue in Hong Kong, I would have been able to sue these guys because I got a lot of legal connections and that you can find a firm to pursue this. But no, they came through at the end. But yeah, I mean, you have to KYC if that's what you're saying. And then, I sold it for Bitcoin, and then I had to shift it over to 2 exchanges in Canada and sold it for CAD.
To maybe pry a little bit too personally, feel free not to answer the question, but did you sweep on both chains simultaneously? Your Monero Classic, with a very large ring size. On the one hand, sweep exchange,
yeah.
And on your other hand, basically sweep your funds Monero to a new wallet.
That's what you have to do to have security. And then you have to do it in such a way that there's overlaps in the rings, which you could do at the time because of the very large rings and that you could use to do that. So you use a ring of about 20 is what I used. And then you get an effective, because you need to have overlap in the ring so you couldn't de-anonymize it. But yeah, you have to sweep both sides because essentially you're not trusting the old chains, the weak ones. So what you have to do is you sweep after the fork and then you sweep on the other chain. You have to sweep your good Monero to another chain so you're protecting it from the Monero Classic when you then reveal the keys to that software. That's essentially how you have to do it. I mean, it's a standard trick. It's the same as if you want to split BCH from BTC. It's the same process. Only here we had to take advantage. We have to deal with the privacy elements, and that's why I had to use very large ring sizes to have enough common ring elements on both chains.
The story definitely belongs in the annals of Monero lore of long past.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I mean, but there was some of us, a majority of the members of the community didn't play, but there was some of us who simply saw, well, this thing, why not just stick the claws of the bears into it, literally. And I was not the only one. And they were throwing millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin to try to prop this thing up.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Sometimes you have to offer like general advice, like this is a bad idea. It could compromise your privacy. Where on the other hand, you're like, yeah, but I understand the system at a pretty deep level. I can get around that in a way that most people won't be able to.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you had to go through all this process to protect your privacy. And some have overlapping rings and so on. So it's not a simple issue. And then at the time, there were all these things of how we're going to protect the privacy with different, because I think Monero V came out, because nobody cares about this anymore. But and there was another split, and that was another, that one I missed, actually.
It's actually a very interesting anti-fork mechanism when you roll the privacy fungibility into it, because you're like, listen, you can't actually effectively fork or refuse to upgrade against the wish of the community and maintain the privacy and fungibility of the chain. So it's like this very significant detracting factor to actually try and fork it all, because you lose one of the fundamental reasons for its existence.
No, I realize that. It's very much.
I'm telling you, I'm telling the audience. I know you know that.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting element. But what was, I mean, the whole issue, it also raises a very interesting question of the longest chain in the Nakamoto consensus does not win. It's the chain that has the vote, the economic majority that wins, which is a very interesting element for the Bitcoiners. Because definitely at that point in time, the Monero original was the longest chain.
And that means that when Michael Saylor and the U.S. government fork Bitcoin and make government coin, the Bitcoin is going to die.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they keep the same structure. It doesn't matter what they do; it's going to die.
Well, yeah, I'm just pointing at, like, Coinbase is going to go to government coin, and Michael Saylor is going to go to government coin, and Bank of America is going to go to government coin, and they're just going to leave.
Didn't they already
Bitcoin
do that in 2017 though? Like, didn't that already happen?
Well, the argument is where there's the economic value. Right now, the economic value in Bitcoin, I hate to be blunt, is selling to the greater fool. And the greater fool that has been drafted for this mission is the US government. Now, if the US government going to be stupid enough to fall for this, I don't know. But I think there's a lot of people who see the US government as the greater fool in Bitcoin. And so, yeah, so they want to sell it to the US government. That's what they're trying to do. Because essentially, once you take out the cypherpunkness out of it, or the peer-to-peer cash, or whatever out of it, there's no real reason for this thing. And this is where I have to agree with Warren Buffett, although I can take a really hard line on this. I disagree with Warren Buffett on the exponent. The exponent should also not be fixed at 2. It should actually be dynamic for the rat poison. So yes, if that's rat poison squared, and I think we need a dynamic exponent for that. But Warren Buffett has a very valid point. I mean, what exactly is the point of Bitcoin? Once you take the peer-to-peer cash out of the equation, there's no valid point. And the argument is to store value without it being a medium of exchange doesn't hold water in my case. I don't buy that.
This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University.
I mean, this is the whole Bitcoin thing has become, and anybody who looks at it objectively is going to ask the question, what exactly is the point? Once you take out peer-to-peer cash transactions out of the equation, what exactly is the benefit in this thing?
It's funny to see the FUD they're trying to spread on the Bitcoin Academy side on Monero. I have a video for that, by the way, if you guys want to see it.
Would love to see it.
It was cringe, dude. I put the link here.
Is it on the comments? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, because the guy from Bitcoin University is like, even criminals don't use Bitcoin. Even criminals don't use Monero because apparently the bit whatever hacked recently, the $1.5 billion or whatever hack, they were changing their ether for Bitcoin.
The reason people would want to use Bitcoin is because if you have it's a liquidity issue over Monero. That's the reason you would do it, and so that's the reason why you would get that. So if you have very large accounts, if you have very large amounts of funds, then you want to use Bitcoin over Monero in that case. But for small transactions, it's untenable. So it's, I mean, yeah, so what did you put that in the comments?
Yeah, if you've got anything less than about $1 million, you can use Monero, no problem.
Yeah, no, but once you start getting into the higher amounts, and the liquidity becomes an issue.
I put the video in the StreamYard comments, but you know, I mean, he's just talking out of his ass, right?
Yeah, we need.
I see it.
We need Tux or Doug to be able to drop this onto the screen share or whatever.
Yeah, okay. I see it here. But I mean, the issue about peer-to-peer cash right now is Monero is about 1/200th or something like that of the size of Bitcoin. 1/400, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the prevention of liquidity there for the use of Monero by let's just call it a range of customers, to put it incorrectly, but a range of customers to put it incorrectly and also very nicely. That's kind of a win for the government, right? That's what they want. They want to keep criminals in transparent chains. They don't want, neither do they want honest people nor criminals using the fungibility of Monero because they want to surveil everyone.
I mean, the surveillance issue, the trouble with the surveillance issue is that it doesn't work in Bitcoin. And this is the thing that people really need to realize. And that's why, I mean, I had this sort of words back. I mean, blockchain surveillance does not work as a surveillance scheme in Bitcoin, which is actually one of the issues there. So,
I mean, it works to some degree, though, right? Like they lose resolution after some level, but on some levels they do have resolution. Like, for example, the Bitfinex hack, that coin was unable to move. And as soon as it started moving a couple of years ago, they were able to see it immediately.
Well, here's the thing. In the majority of cases, there isn't there. If you have a very large amounts of funds and you try to launder it by splitting it in small amounts and stuff like that, then yes. But normally it doesn't work. And that's, I think, a fundamental problem with this, is that there's some rare cases when it works, but the majority of cases it does not. And what it does do is it makes innocent people liable to false accusations.
How well does it narrow down their search space, right? So if you have a search space that initially exists over the entirety of anyone that's ever touched Bitcoin, right? You say, okay, well, anyone that's ever touched Bitcoin could potentially be in our search space. With chain analysis, we're able to narrow that down to, let's just say, within 99% probability, it's within these 5 people or these 10 individuals or something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about that kind of analysis?
You need clustering. I mean, basically, what you need is a co-spend heuristic. And this co-spend heuristic is based on clustering, and then you reduce the error. What you normally have is PL chains, which increase the error. And so essentially your problem is you need to coalesce a large number of outputs that are related into one output, and then you can show it. That's essentially the problem. And in most cases, you don't have it. But in some of these rare cases, particularly if the coins were originally, they were a large sum of money, like you steal $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and then you try to sort of launder it, that's when you get into the co-spend heuristic.
What do you think about surveillance wallets? Like wallets that are kind of these honeypot wallets, you're connecting back to their node, their servers. They're feeding you up information on your transactions.
I'm going to have to excuse me for a second. Just for a second. I'm going to have to excuse me. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so for everyone else out there, just kind of wondering like what y'all think about like the potential for honeypot wallets, where some some company they're serving you up information off of their node, off their servers, and then reporting that back to chain analysis. I feel like that's such an easy vector, and that's like total modus operandi for all the things that we've seen up to date.
I like the link. It was shown on the XMR nodes.
Say again, guys. I think y'all were both talking at the same time.
Oh, go ahead, Nihilist.
Yeah, I was going to say it was shown on the chain analysis video. The IRS is, chain analysis mostly is forcing those centralized exchanges to use their malicious nodes, including Monero. And you could consider any centralized exchange wallet used to exchange funds as a honeypot at this point. As long as the centralized exchange collaborates with the, authorities, financial authorities, there you go. You have your honeypots, and against their will, also, if they are acting on behalf of the individuals at the bottom. They're forced to act this way.
Sorry about that. You mentioned actually surveillance wallet. Now, the classic example was the video from Chainalysis that I think I reviewed in Monero Talk a while back. And what they were trying to do there is de-anonymize Dandelion, because that's what those surveillance wallets do, basically. They're connecting to the surveillance node. Now, again, the person they identified had about 90 outputs from a KYC exchange. And then they could do clustering on that to overcome the ring signature. There are two issues with that. The first one is that all that person, if this person had coalesced all their outputs and then just basically ran it through a PL chain, they wouldn't have got anything. But that's a classic example of what I call the co-spend heuristic, where if you cluster enough outputs that you know are from the same source, then you can overcome it. So a surveillance wallet, in the sense that the wallet itself is connected to a surveillance node, it can use that to de-anonymize Dandelion. Just from the video, seems that the obvious solution is just to run it through a VPN, then they wouldn't even look at it. That seems to be the answer to that issue of the bad node. If you're suspicious about your node, just use a VPN to access the node because they were filtering out VPNs. And then they got into when they got onto the other side and they started doing peel chains. And then again, they got into the false accusations because they basically said, oh, this guy's got an IP address from, I think, Colombia, and they were looking for someone from Colombia. So therefore, this person is guilty, essentially. So we'll give this information to law enforcement. This is what I'm saying about this stuff, that it gives the illusion of surveillance, but it doesn't actually give you accurate surveillance, and which makes it so dangerous.
I think we're getting toward the end of the show, but Doug or Tux has to come back on and end it because I know they've been trying to end the show sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I did come in pretty late myself, so you've been on for 4 hours now.
Yeah,
it's 12 Pacific, so it's getting there.
We could end it here. Hold on. Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me better now?
We can.
All right, sweet.
We can hear you. Oh yeah, perfect.
Arctic, anything else you want to bring up?
Well, at this point, no, nothing in particular other than my opinion about scaling and Roger Bear's book, which, as I said, he does a phenomenal job of describing why Bitcoin Core doesn't work. But I think his case for Bitcoin Cash, and in particular the fee argument, is incredibly thin.
All right.
But that's not surprising.
We were trying to have Steve Patterson, the guy who co-authored it. We'll probably get him on a Monero talk at some point. I think he wanted to stop making appearances because they don't want to be saying too many things in public right now, as they're trying to work on getting Roger out.
Well, getting the tax issue with the Spanish authorities and the extradition to the United States and all that.
Yeah, so hopefully we see some progress on that ground for Roger. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Anybody else have anything? You. Yeah, anybody else have anything they want to put out there before we close it out?
Nope.
All right, let's hold on. Let me find the media here. Oh, here we go. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. We do these shows every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. See you all next week.
You bet.
Adios.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.
Boom.
All right. Hey, Doug.
Wait, why is this still...
Oh.
It still says live. That's... This is funny. It's giving me an error when I'm trying to end the stream. Are we still live right now? I think we're still live.